Chapter 4033. Li Weiran glanced at Yin Wuji and smiled. Region Master, shall we begin now? Yin Wuji looked deeply at him before saying in a low voice, Priest untainted, you should know very well that if you dare to play any tricks in the territory of our nether realm, you will definitely not be able to live to see tomorrow's sun. Li Weiran bowed gracefully and said with a smile, Of course. I said long ago that I came to the nether region to be loyal to the Region Master. Isn't my life, treasure, still in the Region Master's hands? What is there to worry about, Region Master? It's good that Priest Unran understands. Then I'll have to trouble you to prepare. Yin Wuji didn't completely trust Li Weiran, this mysterious and strange priest. Even though he had Mu Liuyun's identity token, even though the ability he displayed was different from a mortal power and the same as Mu Liuyun. But for some reason, Yin Wuji felt that this man who looked like a youth at the same time was strange and frightening. He couldn't help but want to stay far away. But now, he really had no other choice. He was the only one who could help Yin Yuani change his fate. The fate exchange formation was prepared quickly. The unconscious Luo Yunxiao and the palpitating Yin Yuani walked into the center of the formation. Fu Yushu finally recovered and sat with Yin Wuji at the two ends of the formation. Her body still trembled uncontrollably. She didn't dare look in Luo Yunxiao's direction, but she maintained her calm on the surface. She had to be calm, because the activation and operation of the Fate Exchange formation required the protection of at least two high-level immortals, and it involved Luo Yunxiao and Yin Yuani. Apart from her and Yin Wuji, no one else could believe it. Li Weiran's white robe changed to a fiery red. On the contrary, the red silk covering his face became snow satin. His originally youthful appearance seemed to be tainted with seductiveness and charm, especially when his red lips curled up and his red robe fluttered. He was like an Azura stepping into the mortal world. He couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart and wanted to see the bloody scene with his own eyes. Li Weiran's outfit was well prepared. He had gotten a staff studded with jewels from who knew where. With a light wave, the tip of the rod emitted a dark red glow. Not far from them, the grand spell formation immediately burst into flames, burning along every vein and gradually surrounding Yin Wuji, Yin Yuani, Fu Yushu, and Luo Yunxiao. After that, I have nothing to do with it, right? Li Weiran yawned and leaned lazily on the windowsill. The sun was shining brightly outside the house, and the golden light shone on the flowers that were vying for beauty. It was beautiful and enchanting. However, the interior of the palace was dark. The imperial family of the Nether Realm was completely engulfed in the raging flames of the mortal world. A family Li Weiran let out a mocking laugh. With a wave of his hand, the beautiful flowers outside the window suddenly withered, as if someone had sucked all the moisture out of them. Almost at the same time, a scream came from the array. Luo Yunxiao, how did you wake up? What are you doing? Father, mother, save me. Help. Evil creature. Stop right now. Boom. A loud sound shook the entire palace as if it was about to collapse. Li Weiran leaned weakly on the windowsill. This time, he almost flipped out of the window. He barely managed to grab the window frame and looked up excitedly. Chapter 4035. Yin Wuji, you can take a few more moves from Diming Ju, but in front of me, you're worse than a dog. Don't you know this? Yin Wuji's eyes widened, the veins on his forehead bulging. He desperately tried to circulate the divine power in his body. But it was just as Luo Yunxiao said. The Netherine sacred flame was the most supreme flame in the world. His netherworld flame and all the books related to fire that he cultivated in front of the dark Yin holy flame did not have the slightest ability to fight back. He couldn't even use it. He glared at Luo Yunxiao, his eyes full of shock and unwillingness. How did you survive? Lu Xingyuan would never allow you to live. You're not Luo Yunxiao. Who are you? His long eyelashes slowly drooped. They covered the cold and dark light in his crimson eyes. His hand brushed lightly. Cracking sounds came from Enwuji's hands and feet. That was the sound of the bones in his limbs breaking inch by inch. Enwuji let out a mournful scream and almost fainted. He was the heir of the Netherworld region from birth. When he came of age, his cultivation had already reached the peak of golden immortal. It could be said that he had never suffered like mortals did in his life. He didn't even know how cruel and terrifying the torture he had inflicted on Luo Yunxiao was. Luo Yunxiao listened to his cries, but there was still no change on her handsome face. She only answered him indifferently. Lu Xingyuan did not allow me to live in this world, but I killed him. No, impossible. How was this possible? Enwuji's forehead was covered in cold sweat as he shook his head frantically. Lu Xingyuan was a venerable immortal, a brilliant disciple of Bodhidharma. He also had the formless cauldron. How could you kill him? Suddenly, Enwuji's pupils shrank, and his screams came to an abrupt end. He looked in horror at Luo Yunxiao's dantian. Extreme fear almost broke his voice. The world-destroying half-soul was not taken out. You fused with it. Luo Yunxiao's lips curved slightly. Father, you guessed right. This was the first time he smiled since his rebirth. But Enwuji only felt despair, his body trembling uncontrollably. How was that a human smile? It was clearly a devil, an Azura that had crawled out from the abyss of hell. After that, he stood up, raised his hand, and nailed Enwuji to the pillar next to Enyuani. His deep and cold blood-red eyes looked at Fu Yushu. Fu Yushu let out a short scream and fell to the ground. Then, she quickly knelt on the ground and crawled toward Luo Yunxiao while crying and kowtowing. Little Xiao, it's Dad and Mom's fault, but we're your parents after all. After all, we've raised you for so many years. Please spare us. Please spare us. Luo Yunxiao slowly squatted down. Her voice was cold and magnetic. What should I do? Now that I hear you crying and begging, I think of your biased and cruel past, but I don't feel anything in my heart. The crimson-red pupils met Fu Yushu's frightened, tearful eyes, and the bottom of his eyes was calm. I didn't come to the Nether Realm for revenge. I didn't want to take back anything. Fu Yushu trembled all over and cried. Little Xiao, since you didn't come for revenge, then please let us go. Let's go, okay? Mom will kowtow to you. Chapter 4036. She banged her forehead on the ice-cold bluestone floor. Without the protection of a mortal power, a large part of her forehead was soon broken, and blood flowed out. Luo Yunxiao looked down at her with an indifferent expression, as if he was looking at an ant struggling for its life. Fu Yushu looked up at that pair of bloody eyes and felt her heart sink bit by bit. She suddenly gritted her teeth and secretly pinched something in her right palm. She did not show it on her face. As she cried, she knelt in front of Luo Yunxiao and hugged his leg, crying loudly, Shower, say something? You really can't forgive Mother. Ah. The dagger dipped in poison had just been stabbed out. Her wrist was clamped by 5 cold fingers. Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, a piercing pain came from her arm. So painful, let me go. Luo Yunxiao slowly let go of her hand and whispered, I really don't want revenge, but I want to say goodbye to my past self. That weak, useless, lowly Luo Yunxiao, if only she had never existed. If not for that Luo Yunxiao, he would not have lost the Xiaoyao sect. If not for that Luo Yunxiao, he would not have lost everything. So, everything related to that Luo Yunxiao, I will erase it bit by bit. He raised his head and looked at the 3 bloody people nailed to the pillars. His voice was cold and indifferent. If one day is not enough, then one day. If 1 month is not enough, then 1 month. Before that Luo Yunxiao completely disappears, I will let you live. But this life will be more painful than death. Bang! The door of the palace was smashed open. Region Master, what just happened? Yu Chun and the others had just rushed through the door and saw the scene in the palace. They were all shocked. Region Master, Region Empress, Your Highness. Yu Chun looked at the silver-haired, red-eyed Luo Yunxiao and the dying Enwuji. He could not believe his eyes. Luo Yunxiao sat back down on the chair and slowly took a sip of the cold tea. Audacious madman, you dare to hurt the region master. Go! Yu Chun had not recovered from the shock. The Netherrealm guards behind him roared and rushed forward. A dark red flame sprang up from the ground and engulfed the guards who were rushing over. These people did not even have the chance to make a sound before they were directly burned to ashes. The flames even spread to the 3 people on the pillars. Immediately, miserable screams rang out. Half of In Yuani's feet were burned off. Even In Wuji, who was a celestial prime, could not help but cry and beg for mercy. The chaotic hall fell into a strange silence. Everyone's eyes were filled with terror as they looked at the silver-haired, crimson-eyed man. Their legs were trembling, and they wished for nothing more than to flee immediately. Suddenly, there was a thud behind Yu Chun. Sang Rao, who was also an elder of the Nether region, had already knelt on the ground and shouted, "Your subordinate greets the new region master. Region Lord, you have already cultivated the rank for Nether Een Sacred Flame. You are more suitable to lead the Nether region than Een Wuji. Under your glorious leadership, my Nether realm will definitely be able to recreate the legend of the Nether Saint Emperor. Long live the new ruler." With Sang Rao taking the lead, the remaining elders also knelt down one by one. They shouted, "Long live the new ruler! You dare!" In Wuji, who was nailed to the pillar, was both shocked and angry. He could not help but struggle and shout at the top of his lungs. Chapter 4037. However, the subordinates who were once loyal to him and flattered him only glanced at him cautiously. They retracted their gazes and continued to respectfully worship their new territory lord. This was the cultivation world. The weak were prey to the strong, and the victor was king. Luo Yunxiao was once weak, so even as a prince, he was repeatedly humiliated and tortured by his own father. No one stood up for him. Now that the situation had reversed, it was In Wuji's turn to taste everything that Luo Yunxiao had experienced. Yu Chen's heart was incomparably complicated. From a long time ago, he had favored Luo Yunxiao over In Yuani. He had sighed and regretted countless times in his heart. If the First Highness had not been chosen to be the host of the Mortal Plunder, how good would it have been? If the successor of the Nether region was Luo Yunxiao, then their future development would definitely not be any worse than the Polar region. But at this moment, Luo Yunxiao had returned to the Nether region in the most powerful manner. He had made In Wuji his prisoner. Even his dark In Holy Flame had broken through the 4th rank, and was only a step away from the 5th rank of legend. But the person in front of him was no longer the indifferent and kind-hearted First Highness from before. How did he crawl back from hell? How did he become like this? No one knew. Yu Chen closed his eyes and finally knelt down slowly. Greetings, new territory lord. Where would the future of the Nether region go from here? Yu Chen and the others paid their respects, but Luo Yunxiao did not have any reaction. At this moment, they did not dare to say anything and carefully retreated after kowtowing a few times. They completely ignored Fu Yushu's cries and In Wuji's angry roars. When everyone had left, there was a sudden round of applause in the room. Staying in the Nether region to watch such a good show is really worth it. Luo Yunxiao's gaze finally fell on Li Weiran. Li Weiran walked over and sat beside him. He poured himself a cup of tea in a very familiar manner. As he drank, he said with a smile, "Aren't your methods of torturing people a bit lacking? Why don't you give the 3 of them to me? I guarantee that in less than 2 hours, they will cry for their parents and regret being born into this world." Li Weiran you. In Wuji let out an angry roar. However, before he could finish speaking, he was blocked by a clump of mud. Even Fu Yushu and In Wuji were given a lump of mud. As a result, the annoying noises in the hall disappeared. Li Weiran didn't even look at them as he excitedly looked at Luo Yunxiao. "I see that your cultivation is very high now. Why don't we join hands and destroy the polar domain?" Luo Yunxiao's long eyelashes drooped slightly. His entire body seemed to be carved out of ice jade, and he didn't react to anything around him. He did not have the joy of avenging a great hatred. There was no grief, anger, or pain. There was only indifference towards everything in this world. Li Weiran became even more excited as he said, "It's fine if you don't want to work with me on the polar domain. Can you at least tell me what happened during this time? The last time I saw you, you didn't seem to be like this. Mu Yin treasures you so much. Seeing you like this, it's impossible for her not to have any reaction, right?" At this point, Li Weiran was a little unhappy, not to mention Mu Yin and the people of the Xiaoyao sect. Even that little bastard Jun Machin treated Luo Yunxiao better than he did. He sourly thought, isn't it just a face? Chapter 4038. This time, Luo Yunxiao finally had a reaction. He slowly raised his head and met Li Weiran's eyes. Yes, eyes. The moment he raised his head, the red silk covering Li Weiran's face fell, revealing his ice-blue pupils. Before Li Weiran could get angry, he heard Luo Yunxiao's cold but hoarse voice. Jun Mayan is dead. No one in the world would call him Junior Master anymore. There was no Xiaoyao sect in the world. Under the abyss. Oh my God, is this a 2-star main city? Night Spirit couldn't help but exclaim as he looked at the huge ring-shaped tower in front of him and the gorgeous buildings built around it. Mine didn't have any reaction. This 2-star Red Star City was naturally of a higher level than the 1-star main city, Blood Flame City. At least there wasn't the stench of blood in the air, and there was no garbage everywhere. But compared to the beautiful buildings of humans, it was still far from it. Ewing observed Mayan's expression and looked thoughtful. Seeing Mayan looking over, she immediately smiled and said, "Little Devil Marshal, you should rest well in Red Star City for the next 2 days. 3 days later, I will take you to register and draw lots. You must perform well in the next competition. My happiness for the rest of my life is all in your hands." Night Spirit rolled his eyes. These evil women were really thinking of ways to take advantage of their Liangshan all the time. Even their words had to be so ambiguous. Ewing arranged an inn for the two. It was Night Spirit's first time in a 2-star main city, and he was extremely excited. He pulled Mayan and said, "Let's go for a walk in the city. Maybe we can meet your scumbag father here." Mayan was about to refuse when she suddenly heard a chirp sound. Then a furry yellow head popped out. "Chirp, chirp, chirp. Mom, Mom. Huang Wang." Seeing little yellow chick, Mayan's eyes revealed a long-lost smile. She gently touched its soft fur and said softly, "Is Huang Wang okay?" Little yellow chick tilted its head and spat out a bubble, crying out in confusion, "Is Huang Wang okay? Why is Huang Wang okay?" Huang Wang had only taken a nap. He even dreamt that he went to the amusement park with his dad, mom, and brother. However, no matter how good the mother in the dream was, it was not as good as the mother in reality. The little chick chirped and rubbed itself against Mu Yan. After rubbing enough, he found himself in a very strange place. He excitedly bit Mayan's sleeve and kept shouting, "Goo goo goo! Mommy, Mommy, this place is so strange." Huang Wang wanted to play. Mu Yan had no choice but to bring Night Spirit and Huang Wang into the market. Yi Liang Chun, look, they even sell the devil badger meat. Only 20 mabe, bye-bye. G. Mummy, that person looks so strange. His head is flat, ha ha ha. Mu Yan puts her hand to her forehead. Could a man and a chicken make a fuss over nothing? Goo goo goo. Doggy doggy. Huang Wang wanted to sit on a dog. The little chick seemed to have seen something, but it suddenly spread its wings and flew off excitedly. Then it accurately landed on a magical beast. Huang. Mu Yan is startled by its actions. She doesn't even have the time to catch it. The magical beast that Huang is riding let out a furious roar and suddenly turned its head, opening its bloody mouth. Mu Yan's expression changed, and she was about to unsheath the 7 absolute sword. Chapter 4039. But at this moment, a slender hand landed on the head of the demonic beast and patted it lightly. Don't make trouble. The next moment, the demonic beast that was ferocious just a moment ago suddenly became extremely docile. It stuck out its tongue slightly and showed a naive expression to the front. Not to mention, it really looked a bit like a dog in the mortal world. Mu Yan's gaze moved up slightly, and she saw a young man, or rather, a male demon. The demons in the 1-star and 2-star main cities were basically only demon soldiers and demon guards. And the appearance of these low-level demons, from the perspective of human aesthetics, was very difficult to describe in a few words. But the male demon in front of her was different. He was tall and straight, with deep and exquisite facial features, sword-like eyebrows, starry eyes, a high nose and thin lips, and was unexpectedly handsome. The male demon was also stunned when he saw Mu Yin, and his eyes flashed with amazement. Then he revealed a faint smile, glanced at the little chick on Guzzi, and asked, "Is this your demon pet? It's really unique and interesting." Mu Yin touched her nose awkwardly and pulled her son down from the demon pet. Huang Wang was still there, squeaking nonstop. After Mu Yin patted its little butt, it had no choice but to settle down. Its little wings were still unwillingly clawing in the direction of the dog. "Ride the dog." "Huang Wang wants to ride the dog." Mu Yin smiled at the person opposite her. "Sorry, my demon pet is a bit naughty." After that, she nodded at the other party and pulled the dazed night spirit away. The man looked at her leaving figure thoughtfully. But Mu Yin didn't expect that she would bump into the other party again when she was about to go back after strolling around tower. No, rather than saying that they bumped into each other. Rather, it was to say that the little chick suddenly flapped its wings excitedly and flew out. The second time, it accurately landed on the other party's demon pet. It was still shaking its little body and excitedly shouting, "Giddy up!" Mu Yin pressed her aching forehead, and when she looked at the male demon again, her expression was stiff. The man couldn't help but burst into laughter and took the lead to walk forward, cupping his hands. "I'm Bailey Weiran. May I have the honor to know little brother's name?" Mu Yin looks at her stupid son, who is riding on someone else's dog. She can't put on a cold and distant face anymore. She coughs lightly and says, "Yap Liang Chun. I'm sorry. Huang Wang is still young and doesn't know much." "Huang Wang." An amused expression appeared on Bailey Weiran's face as he said, "It matches my Guogua's name quite well." The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches. It was one thing for his little chick to be called Huang Wang. "You're just a majestic dog-type magical beast. Why are you called Guogua?" "Little brother, you shouldn't be a resident of this Red Star City, right?" Mu Yin glanced at him and hooked her lips. "Brother Bailey is not a resident of Red Star City, right? Red Star City was just a 2-star main city, and most of the residents were demon soldiers and demon guards. As for the person in front of him, his cultivation was so high that he couldn't see through him at all." Bailey Weiran said with a smile, "My mother's family originated from Red Star City, so I can be regarded as half a resident of Red Star City. This time, he was here to deliver some things to the clan. What about you, little brother?" Mu Yin doesn't really want to answer, but she meets the man's gentle and sincere eyes. She braces herself and says, "I'm here to participate in the groom selection." Bailey Weiran's eyes slightly widen. "Brother, you wants to be the princess son-in-law?" That's right." Bailey Weiran's face shows a meaningful smile. He reaches out and slowly puts his hand on her shoulder. "Then, we may become opponents." Chapter 40. Mu Yin subconsciously wants to avoid his approach. However, she was unable to avoid the hand on her shoulder. His heart immediately shivered, and his assessment of this person's danger level increased by a few notches. Hearing his words, Mayan stares blankly. "You also want to participate in the groom selection?" Bailey Weiran smiled faintly and said, "The princess is of noble birth, and Jade Leaves, the daughter chosen by the heavens. Which demon in the hidden abyss doesn't want to be her husband? Is it that rare for me to participate in the betrothal contest?" The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches. She takes a step back and breaks free from his grip. "That's not true." So this person in front of him was little Marshall Uncle's love rival. Bailey Weiran gently said, "Although you and I are strong enemies, we will not immediately meet in this Red Star City. So little brother doesn't need to be so afraid of me. I'm participating in the marriage selection of a 4-star main city." Mayan's eyes deepen. 4-star main city. That was at least an expert at the middle stage of Demon Lord or above. The level of a demon master was equivalent to a Xian immortal among spirit cultivators. Bailey Waron's expression was gentle. His gaze was fixed on Mayan's face as he chuckled. I'm looking forward to fighting with you. Of course, the prerequisite was that you could come to a 4-star main city. Yiliang Chun, see you later. Guguo, let's go. Hearing its master's command, the dog shook its huge body and flung the little chick away. The little chick let out a squeal and flapped its wings wildly. In the end, he wasn't flung to the ground. Instead, he crashed into Bailey Waron's waist. Even Bailey Waron hadn't expected this, and he actually didn't dodge. Something at his waist was knocked off and fell to the ground, making a soft ding-dong sound. Following that, the little chick also fell off Bailey Waron's body and sat on that thing. It was just that this process was extremely fast, and the sound of it falling was also extremely soft. Bailey Waron and Mu Yin did not notice it. When Bailey Waron and the magical beast had gone far away, Mayan snappily picks up her stupid son from the ground. Huang Wang, if you don't listen, believe it or not, I'll pull out all the hair on your body and turn it into braised chicken and rice. Woo-woo, I don't dare anymore. Was it not enough for him to be obedient? I don't want to become a braised chicken. Her big watery eyes were filled with pleading and grievance. Amused, Mu Yin flicks its forehead. I think you shouldn't be called Little Yellow Chicken. Call it Pippy Chicken instead. Coo coo coo. Mama laughed. Mama wasn't angry. Mom, look, Huang Wang even brought you a present. Saying that, Little Wing holds something and brings it to Mu Yin. What is this? Mu Yin looked at the thing Little Yellow Chicken was holding and frowned. It looked familiar. It looked like a key, but also like a jade pendant. Also, the ancient and complicated patterns on the surface were very familiar. Where had he seen it before? Huang Wang, did you bring this? The little chick's eyes darted around, looking at the sky and the earth, but not at Mu Yin. He kept muttering, Huang Wang doesn't know. Huang Wang picked it up. Yes, that's right. It fell on the ground and was picked up by Huang Huang. That means he picked it up. Mayan taps its little head and puts away this strange key. She knew that the little chick was special. His luck was often unimaginably good. Other people might pick up something by chance, but Huang Huang definitely wasn't. Perhaps it was heaven's arrangement. Bailey Waron walks out of the tower, but his footsteps suddenly stop. He touches his waist and looks around. Where's my Jade Ruins key? Guowood, did you see it? Chapter 4041. The Guzi made a gurgling sound from his throat, pawed the ground with his front paws, and showed a blank look. Could it have fallen somewhere? Bailey Waron frowned slightly. That's troublesome. There is no Jade Void Key for sale in Red Star City, so I can't go to Tingguang Ruins. I wanted to stay in Red Star City for a few more days to watch the Little Brothers competition, but it seems that I can only go back early. The Guzi shook his head. Bailey Waron rubbed the top of his head, and his eyes flashed with interest. This is the first time I've encountered a magic nucleus that I can't see through. I'm really looking forward to having a showdown with him in the marriage selection. After returning to the inn, Mu Yin took out the strange key to study. The little chick was tired from playing today. It turned over its belly and slept soundly in its mother's warm embrace. Mu Yin carefully put it on the bed and covered it with its special floral blanket. Only then did she continue to look at the key in her hand. The demonic energy slowly seeped into the key, but there was no response. Mu Yin thought for a moment, then condensed the divine power and carefully poured it in. Swish! There seemed to be a burst of fire in her mind. Then Mu Yin's body softly fell on the bed. Her soul, however, appeared in a vast and empty space. A familiar, yet strange voice came to her ear. Welcome to Tingguang. First host, you finally came. Mu Yin's pupils suddenly contracted. This is Tingguang Ruins. Polar Domain, Medicine King Hall. Han Shujio was lying on a large purple gold soft bed, frowning and thinking hard, his face very unsightly. It's been more than a month since he could contact his precious disciple. He didn't know how she was now, if she was safe and sound. Di Mingju, that flirtatious big peacock, couldn't be counted on, but he couldn't leave Medicine King Hall. Han Shujio rolled on the bed and suddenly jumped up. So what if he didn't have Di Ming Ju? He was the dignified medicine king, unique in the entire immortal cultivation world. Could it be that he couldn't even find his precious disciple? Han Shujiu rushed to the Tai Su cauldron and took out all the medicines from the storage pouch, piling them into a small hill beside him. This should have a trace effect. Bang! The lid of the great void cauldron exploded and Han Chuji's face was covered in dust. However, he didn't even bother to wipe it off and continued to try. If this one doesn't work, let's try another one. This should work. Bang! 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 Successive explosions sounded out from inside the Medicine King Hall. From daybreak to nightfall, an earth-shaking loud noise nearly overturned the entire Medicine King Hall. Han Chuji's head was smashed, and the defensive robe on her body was torn into pieces. However, there was not the slightest hint of annoyance on his face. Instead, he excitedly rushed to the void cauldron. It's done, it's really done. Han Shujiu is really a genius. Han Shujiu picked up the pill and swallowed it. Doppelganger Mirage Pill. As long as I take this, I can separate a part of my divine soul to find my precious disciple. Don't be afraid, my disciple. No matter where you are, no matter what danger you encounter, I will save you. When the pill entered his abdomen, a pure energy slowly penetrated into his 3 souls and 7 spirits. The curse on Han Shujiu made him step by step towards immaturity and death, and also trapped him in the Medicine King Hall, unable to leave. Chapter 4042. Even a high-level immortal can only use a doppelganger technique for half a day, and every time it is used, the body and soul will become extremely weak. It will take at least 10 days to half a month to recover. But Doppelganger is different. He used an immortal Dan to separate a small part of his soul and attach it to a high-level instrument. When the time comes, he will ask Elder Chong to take this instrument and leave. He will be able to perceive everything that happens around the instrument and naturally find the whereabouts of his apprentice. Han Shujiu found a piece of jade and attached his doppelganger to it. While he was happily looking at the jade, he saw Elder Chong coming in a hurry. "Little Gio, come with me." "Brother, you came at the right time. I have something to look for you." Elder Chong anxiously said. Jun Shan's condition has changed. Dr. Liu cannot determine the reason. "Come with me to see him." Han Shujiu was about to nod, but he suddenly thought of something. He coldly snorted and turned his head. "Who wants to see that philandering big peacock? His father has cured him. Let him abandon my apprentice and live with that vixen? Bah, I will not do this kind of loss-making business." Elder Chong helplessly said, "Little Gio, what do I have to say to make you believe that Miss June is your apprentice?" "Liar." Han Shujiu denied without hesitation. "How can I not know my apprentice?" "Brother, don't lie to me. I know you treat that kid Di Ming Ju as your own son, but I'm still your younger brother. If you continue to favor one and discriminate against the other, I will fall out with you." Elder Chong held his forehead and rubbed his temples. He only felt a throbbing pain in his head. Han Shujiu put his worries about Di Ming Ju to the back of his head and presented the jade in his hand to Elder Chong. "Brother, you see, this is the doppelganger method that I have just studied. After taking this immortal Dan, I can go find my treasure apprentice." "What do you mean?" Han Shujiu proudly told him about how he refined the doppelganger Dan. "I've seen this pill recipe a long time ago. I don't really remember some of the recipes. I thought I couldn't refine it, but who asked me to be a genius? After trying a few more materials, I succeeded." Even though he's worried about Di Ming Ju's safety, Elder Chong still stares blankly. Han Shujiu continued to be excited. "With the phantom doppelganger pill, my separated soul can exist for at least 3 months. When the time comes, big brother, take this jade pendant and help me find my disciple. As long as I see my disciple, I will definitely be able to recognize him." Chong Lao wanted to say, "Isn't this the same as looking for a needle in a haystack? Moreover, Xiaojiu's disciple is obviously Miss June. Even if he went out to look, how would he be able to find her?" But Han Chuji's eyes were full of expectation. She couldn't hide her expectation. The words of rejection were stuck in his throat, but he swallowed them back down. So what if he couldn't find it? Little Nine had already been locked in this damn place for far too long. It would also be good if he could just take him for a stroll around. Thinking of this, Elder Chong showed a shallow smile. He took the jade pendant and softly said, "Well, wherever Little Nine wants to go, I will take you there." Han Chujio's face immediately showed a happy smile. Her immature round face immediately became pleasing and cute. However, this smile only stayed on her face for a moment before it froze. Chapter 4043. Elder Chang's complexion also changed. The two of them looked at each other, then looked at the jade pendant. They couldn't speak for a long time. How could this be? Han Chujio gloomily took the jade pendant and anxiously paced around. Why can't the divine soul attach to the jade pendant when it's in Ji's hand? Is there something wrong with the Dan? Elder Chong looked at his anxious and angry appearance. He wanted to comfort him, but he didn't know what to say. He could only gently pat his shoulder. "Little Jio, you've done very well. Don't be discouraged. I remember." Han Chujio suddenly shouted. Chong Lao jumped in fright. A person who can wear a doppelganger magical tool must have pure and vigorous divine power. Otherwise, the divine soul in the magical tool will clash with the wearer's own divine soul and be forced to be sealed. And the purer the divine power of the doppelganger magical tool, the longer the medicinal effect can be maintained. Elder Chong froze. "The divine power I can display is very weak, but it's better than nothing. In the polar domain, the one with the purest and most vigorous divine power is naturally Jun Shang." Han Chujio's cheeks immediately puffed up, and he angrily said, "In the end, you just wanted to save that fickle big peacock." Elder Chong stifled a smile. "If you want to find someone to take your doppelganger to find your disciple, the best person is none other than Jun Shang. With Jun Shang's pure and vigorous divine power, you may be able to stay outside for a year and a half. But now that Jun Shang is unconscious, I'm afraid that even if he wanted to help you, he would be powerless." All right. You don't have to beat around the bush to persuade me. I'll go save that fickle big peacock, okay?" Inside Spirit Firmament Palace, Xing Lang and the others were anxiously pacing around outside Di Mingju's palace. From time to time, they would look in the direction of Medicine King Hall. "Xing Lang, I heard that Di Mingju's condition is recurring. Is that true?" An anxious voice rang in their ears along with the swift approach of a graceful figure. The person's complexion was slightly pale, her voice was hoarse, and her whole person carried a sense of haggard and fragility. But even this couldn't hide her amazing beauty. When Xing Lang saw the person, he immediately said respectfully, "Miss June, aren't you recuperating? Why are you here?" Yu Yanran's face is filled with anxiety, the rims of her eyes slightly red. "I heard from Dr. Liu that Di Mingju's condition has changed. How could I sit still? I'm really worried about him. I want to go in and see him." "The maidservant standing behind you," Yanran echoed. "After Miss June woke up, her injuries have not improved and her memories have not recovered. But no matter what, she has always been concerned about Lord's safety. Because she misses Lord, she has not been able to sleep at all." This maid was called Purple Jade, a female immortal of the Polar Domain's Lingxiao Hall. Ever since she found out about Yu Yanran's identity, she felt that she had found a golden thigh. In addition, Yu Yanran was trying to win him over. Therefore, in the past few days, the cub had told Yu Yanran everything it knew, taking care of her in every possible way. It had already regarded itself as Yu Yanran's confidant. Star Wolf has a natural good impression of all the people who are loyal and concerned about Di Mingju. What's more, he's already in awe of Mayan. Hearing these words, he immediately said, "Jun Shang must be very eager to see you, Miss June. You should now." Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Ing Mei. "No way." Ing Mei's voice was clear and cold, but it was completely irresistible. Elder Chong said that before the Medicine King arrives, no one is allowed to enter. Chapter 4044. Star Wolf was taken aback. When did Elder Chong say that? Ingmei's expression didn't change as he lied. When Elder Chong spoke, you were examining Jun Shang's condition, so you didn't hear it. But Han Yi and I heard it. Saying that, he faintly looks at Han Yi. The dumbfounded Han Yi receives his wife's warning. What would he dare to say? Of course, he would obediently lie. Yes, yes, Elder Chong said so. Since it was Elder Chang's order, Xinglang naturally wouldn't go against it. As for defeating armies, apart from that day, when he was brought back by Diming Ju, he was more talkative. At other times, he was like an invisible person, cold and indifferent to the point others were practically unable to notice his existence. Yu Yan furrowed her brows and glanced at Ingmei. She didn't know if it was just her imagination, but this Ingmei seemed to always be against her. Did he see through a disguise? No, absolutely impossible. The magnificent quicksand that she refined this time was different from the inferior product that Lung Qingwan had refined previously. It was truly a flawless disguise. Coupled with the amnesia as a cover, there was no way there would be any flaws. But regardless of whether or not he was seen through, it was best not to leave this shadow demon alive. Otherwise, it would become a stumbling block for him. Yu Yan thought of this in her heart, but did not show it on her face. She coughed lightly and said, "Then I will wait with you here for Elder Chong and the Medicine King to return." This time, Imei didn't say anything. After waiting for a while, Han Chujiu and Chong Lao arrived. Star Wolf and Han Yi immediately greet him. "Medicine King, quickly go and take a look at Jun Shang. His current condition is very strange." Han Chujiu coldly snorted and pushed the door. When he sees Diming Ju on the ice bed, he is also startled. Diming Ju's entire body is flashing with a strange radiance. These rays of light were constantly jumping like flames, sometimes blue, sometimes red, and sometimes pure black. Between Diming Ju's eyebrows, there's a strange rune pattern flashing and flickering, faintly discernible. God-slaying curse. How could this be? Han Chuji's facial expression drastically changed and strode forward. However, before he could get close, he was repelled by a force. "Little Nine, are you all right?" Han Chuju wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and gritted her teeth. "It's okay. It's just two curses of the same level. It can't kill us." Elder Chong said in shock, "Are you saying that the God-slaying curse in his lordship's body is acting up?" Han Chuju nodded her head with a dignified look. "Maybe it's because I'm too badly injured this time, or maybe it's because I've entered the land of the cursed god that the God-slayer curse awakened earlier than expected. What should we do now?" Star Wolf said anxiously. "Medicine King, quickly save Lord." Han Chuju slowly shook her head. "Now, I have no other way. But Diming Ju is using his own power to suppress the god-punishing curse, so it's not the end of the road yet. Elder Chong, is there no other way to help Jun Shang?" Han Chujiu clenched her fists. "Now, all we can do is wait. With Diming Ju's strength and the power of the god-punishing curse, anyone who rashly gets involved will only die a tragic death." The room was dead silent. Everyone's eyes were focused on the ice bed. As time goes by, the three colors of the flame change faster and faster. And on the forehead of the unconscious Mingju, beads of sweat emerged. Star Wolf was burning with anxiety. He subconsciously stretched out his hand to wipe the sweat on Mingju's forehead. Chapter 40-45. The next moment, however, his whole body flies out and heavily hits a pillar. "Star Wolf Darren," Ziyu exclaims, covering his mouth. Yu Yanran's complexion is also somewhat pale. Just now, she almost reached out to wipe Mingju's sweat to show her intimacy with him. Now that she sees Star Wolf's end, her heart bursts with joy. Han Yi looks at Star Wolf, who can't get up for a long time, his face revealing worry. Han Chujiu glances at him, faintly saying, "Don't worry, he won't die. He was just affected by the collision of energy. At most, he'll have to recuperate for 10 days to half a month." Everyone's attention is briefly focused on Star Wolf. So much so that almost no one notices. On the ring finger of Diming Ju's originally empty left hand, the shadow of a ring gradually appears. The shadow flashes with silver light, turning into little stars that enter Di Mingju's body. Then it disappears without a trace. Defeating Armies, who is guarding on the side, suddenly stands up straight, his brows tightly wrinkled. That energy fluctuation just now is very familiar. It seems to be exactly the same as the one he sensed in the Forbidden Area a few years ago. Retreat. Han Chujio's shout interrupts Defeating Armies' thoughts. The several people instinctively retreat at full speed. Yu Yanran is so scared that she directly retreats outside the room, quickly setting up the protective shield around her body. Then, they hear a loud noise coming from inside the room. Boom! The main hall shakes, gravel and dust fall down. Jun Shang. Han Chujio waves her hand, and the broken stones of the collapsed pillars fly away, revealing the still intact ice bed and the person lying on it. Han Chujio breathes a long sigh of relief, the tension in her eyes relaxing. But on the surface, she snorts, "This guy is lucky." Her voice hasn't fallen when Di Mingju slowly opens his eyes and sits up on the ice bed. Jun Shang, you're finally awake. That's great. Elder Chang and the others cry tears of joy. They've experienced too much during this time. Defeating Armies mysteriously disappeared. Di Mingju was seriously injured, and Miss Jun's life and death are unknown. The Jiyu dynasty was even on the verge of collapse. Now that Jun Shang has woken up, everything is finally over. Di Mingju presses his forehead and looks at the several people with red and swollen eyes. He frowns and says, "What happened? Why do you all look like that?" Elder Chang, choked with sobs, "My lord, you've been unconscious ever since you returned from the floating island. We were really worried about you." Di Mingju stares blankly. A floating island? Why would Ben Jun go there? Elder Chang stares blankly. Han Yi and the other three also stare blankly. Jun Shang, don't you remember? You sensed that Miss Jun was in danger, so you rushed to the floating island to save her despite your severe injuries. Di Mingju frowns even tighter. What are you talking about? And who is Miss Jun? Elder Chang's eyes widened, and he was speechless for a long time. In the end, it was Defeating Armies who walked forward and slowly said, "Jun Shang, when does your memory stop?" Di Mingju's eyes darkened. Ben Jun should have been in seclusion in the Forbidden Area, but I woke up in this palace. He looked at Defeating Armies, his voice slightly hoarse. You mean, I lost my memory? Han Yi and the other two simply can't believe their ears. Jun Shang lost his memory. How could this be? On the contrary, Defeating Armies' expression is calm. There's even a feeling that this is the case in his heart. 7 years ago, Di Mingju went into seclusion in the Jiyu domain. In total, he came back from the Yinwu continent 3 times. The first time he came back, he was seriously injured, and that strange rune faintly appeared on his forehead. Chapter 4046. The second time he comes back, the injuries on his body are mostly healed, and the aura of energy lingering around his body is very similar to the starlight that didn't enter Di Mingju's body today. The third and final time he returned, the entire polar domain exploded. Defeating Armies didn't have the time to see anything clearly before he was blasted away. However, he still had a vague impression of the terrifying power that seemed to want to obliterate his divine soul. Every time he thought of it, he would tremble. And today he once again felt this power. Therefore, whether it was 7 years ago or today, someone is erasing the memories in Di Mingju's mind again and again, using the God-slaying curse. There was also that strange rune engraved on Di Mingju's forehead. And the memories that were erased were just that coincidentally. Only the memories after he met Mu Yan were erased. The more Defeating Armies thought about it, the more frightened he became. His palm, which was holding the hilt of his sword, unconsciously began to sweat. He couldn't understand who had cast such a strange curse on Jun Shang's body, and who would have the ability to place a curse on Jun Shang's body. The truth might be crueler and more terrifying than he had imagined. Little 9, quickly take a look for Jun Shang. Han Chujio grabbed Di Mingju's hand and checked it with her spiritual sense. Then, she curled her lips and threw away Di Mingju's hand. Well, there is no danger to his life, and his cultivation has improved. TSK, TSK. The scourge lives on for 1,000 years. What about Jun Shang's memories? Han Chujio rolled her eyes. It's good to be alive. Isn't it just losing some memories? What's the big deal? Di Mingju's expression is very calm. He slowly stood up from the sickbed. The dust on his clothes rustled and fell, but the red bloodstains on the white cloth were exceptionally conspicuous. But he doesn't even spare them a glance. He only indifferently looks towards Han Yi and the others. Tell me everything that happened in the past few years when I lost my memory. Don't leave anything out. Han Yi and the others shiver from head to toe, promptly kneeling down. Even Elder Chang's breathing quickened slightly. This was the polar domain sovereign they were familiar with. But it was so unfamiliar. Because 2 years ago, Di Mingju, who hadn't yet met Jumayan, was like this. Aloof, cold, aloof, and aloof. He was the supreme ruler of the world. However, there were almost no emotions or desires, and there was no worldly aura. And at this very moment, because he had lost his memories, this Jun Shang had returned. Xinglong used to worship this kind of Jun Shang the most. But at this very moment, looking at Di Mingju's eyes that don't have a trace of warmth, bursts of sourness and pain emerge in her heart. He doesn't like this kind of Jun Shang. Even if he was powerful, even if he was noble, even if he was a supreme being, he was still so lonely. Xinglang suddenly raised his head and said loudly, Jun Shang, let me speak. About you and Miss June. His lecture went on for more than 2 hours. During this time, Di Mingju has been quietly listening, his expression cold and indifferent, without the slightest ripple in his eyes. It was as if Star Wolf was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. Yu Yanran, who was standing at the door, clenched her fists tightly, her body trembling uncontrollably. Even the heavens were helping her. She's also afraid that when Di Mingju wakes up, he would discover the difference between her and Mayan and expose her. But unexpectedly, Di Mingju actually lost his memory. Xinglang kowtows towards Di Mingju, his voice hoarse. Jun Shang, I'm done. Chapter 4047. Di Mingju's cold gaze sweeps over the 5 of them, and he carelessly says, You mean, Ben Jun has a beloved woman and has decided to make her the future mistress of the polar domain? Yes. Di Mingju. Where is the person? Bring her here for Ben Jun to see. Yu Yanran suppresses the excitement in her heart. She takes a step forward, her voice choking with emotion. Di Mingju, I am Jun Mayan. I don't know why we both lost our memories, but what I remember is that Di Mingju is the man I love the most and my fiancé. Ice blue eyes slowly look at Yu Yanran. The person you're talking about is her? Xinglang nods. A few days ago, we found Miss June unconscious outside the enchantment. She has lost her memory, just like Jun Shang. Di Mingju's appearance is unparalleled in beauty, but very few people have discovered it. Because in this world, there are only a few people who dare to look straight into his eyes to clearly see his features. But at this time, Yu Yanran raises her courage and looks back. Her pair of watery eyes contain a little tenderness, making people intoxicated. Di Mingju slowly hooks up his lips and smiles. Yu Yanran only sees a blur in front of her, her heart thumping wildly, almost jumping out of her throat. How can there be such a noble and perfect man in this world? And such a man will belong to her, Yu Yanran. However, the next moment, the man's low, magnetic, and cold voice rings in everyone's ears. Ben Jun lost his memory. He's not stupid. This kind of thing is worthy to be Ben Jun's fiancé. Do you think Ben Jun is blind? Yu Yanran's body suddenly stiffens. All the tender feelings froze on her face. She opens her mouth slightly, her lips trembling, almost unable to believe her ears. Elder Chong, Xinglang, and Han Yi also turn pale with fright. They have never seen Jun Shang treat Miss June with this kind of attitude. Could it be that after losing his memory, Jun Shang has also completely forgotten his feelings for Miss June? Ha ha ha, well said. Deming Ju, I find you this fickle peacock, more pleasing to the eye. Only Han Chujo laughs heartily, completely ignoring this strange atmosphere and Yu Yanran's crumbling appearance. At least you have a good eye. I thought you really treated this trash as a treasure. Han Chujo glanced at Yu Yanran in disgust. This kind of thing is not even worthy to carry the shoes of my precious disciple. If you abandon my disciple for her, then I'll poison you to death with a single pill. Before he could finish speaking, he met Di Mingju's gaze. His heart skipped a beat. The words that reached his lips were silenced. TSK. After this kid, Di Mingju, lost his memories. He wasn't fun at all. Just like before, he held it like an ice cube. Di Mingju says indifferently, Ben Jun and your disciple also have a relationship? Han Chujo rolled her eyes and waved her hand. You like my disciple, but my disciple doesn't like you, a big peacock. You shamelessly chased after me for a year, and you still want me to marry my disciple to you. Hee hee, but I will not agree to it. Stop dreaming. Then, without waiting for Di Mingju to react, Han Chujo instantly disappeared. He had escaped without a trace. Elder Chong, Jun Shang, Di Mingju waves his hand. You go out first, Ben Jun wants to be alone. Yes. Although they are still very worried about Di Mingju's condition, Jun Shang's order is an imperial edict. It absolutely cannot be violated. The five of them bowed and retreated. Chapter 40-48. Yu Yanran reluctantly suppresses the horror and panic in her heart, forcing herself to look at Di Mingju's eyes. The moment she opens her mouth, tears are already falling from her eyes. Di Mingju, do you really not remember me? Don't remember what we once went through. Before she could finish speaking, Di Ming raises his hand. Yu Yanran and Zi are directly sent out of the hall, and the door closes with a bang. Di Mingju waves his hand casually, but the air waves are enormous. Yu Yanran and Zi are sent flying dozens of meters away until they hit a stone pillar. Only then do they stop with a muffled grunt. The violent shock makes their faces pale, and blood overflows from the corners of their mouths. Xing Lang and Han Yi, who have just walked out of the room, are simply stunned. Jun Shang not only used ugly words to humiliate Miss June, now he even hit her. How can this be? Miss June is the little Gongzi's biological mother, the person that Jun Shang used to love dearly. Xing Lang anxiously wants to step forward. Jun Shang has lost his memory now, forgetting his feelings for Miss June. But his memory will recover one day. When that time comes, he will definitely regret it. He can't let Miss June bear a grudge against Jun Shang. However, as soon as Xing Lang takes a step forward, he is stopped by a sword. Ingmei coldly says, I advise you not to do anything unnecessary. Xing Lang angrily says, Ingmei, what are you doing? Can't you see that Jun Shang has injured Miss June? Ingmei sneers, saying meaningfully, do you really believe that Jun Shang would injure Miss June? Saying that, he looks at Han Yi. What about you? Do you believe it too? Han Yi stares blankly, then immediately remembers something. His complexion changes. Back then in the Yinwu continent, Jun Shang was going to kill the woman of destiny, but as soon as he saw Miss June, he wanted to marry her. He also lost his memory, but it's a completely different reaction. What does this mean? Xing Lang's pupils suddenly contract. You're saying that she's fake? That's why Jun Shang has no reaction to her. That's why Yao Wang resolutely refuses to admit that this is his disciple. Xing Lang grits his teeth and says, this slut dares to pretend to be Miss June. I'm going to kill him. Don't act rashly. Elder Chang's eyes flickered as he looked deeply at Yu Yanran. Keep her alive. I want to see what tricks she has up her sleeves and what her true face will be in the end. Han Yi, send someone to spy on her in secret. You must keep a close eye on her. Han Yi nods. Inside the palace, only Di Mingju is left. Divine power circulated in his body and was slowly released. In the blink of an eye, the ruined palace was restored to its original state. If someone were to witness this scene, they would definitely be dumbstruck. Even ordinary immortals could restore such a damaged palace to its original state. However, he was using the illusory mimicry and shadow shifting technique. He used magic to create an almost identical palace. But Deming Ju is not. He had directly reversed the flow of time within the range of this palace. It brought him back to several hours ago. At that time, the palace was naturally in good condition. It sounded simple, but only if one grasped the power of the law of time. Otherwise, it would have been impossible. Deming Ju glances at his hand, his eyes revealing a trace of doubt. He had become stronger. Before, he could also control the law of time, but he couldn't do it so easily. His gaze falls on the ring finger of his left hand. There's a ring there that can't be seen with the naked eye. That's the Void Spirit Ring. Chapter 4049. Deming Ju slowly turns the ring, his brows slightly wrinkled, puzzled. The Void Spirit Ring was a special magical tool that could share one's soul and life with others. Why would he tie his life to someone else's? My lord, you have a woman you love. You love her like your own life. Her name is June Mayan. Star Wolf's words rang in his ears, causing a ripple to surface in his heart. However, that hypocritical and pretentious face immediately appeared in her mind. Deming Ju frowns. Impossible. He only felt disgust for this woman, but he did not like her. He would never fall in love with June Mayan. His god power surged and touched the Void Spirit Ring. But just as he was about to take it off, a strange reluctance and anger welled up in his heart. It made him stop moving. There seemed to be a voice in his head telling him over and over again, "This ring cannot be taken off. Forget it. If you don't want to pick it, then don't pick it." Deming Ju knits his brows, brushes his sleeves, and gets up. Clang! A jade pendant fell to the ground. This is Demon Core Blood Jade? Deming Ju's pupils shrink. Why would he bring a monster core blood jade with him? Moreover, the devil chi contained in it was extremely pure. Only those born into nobility would possess it. The demon core blood jade was specially used by the demon clan to identify their bones and blood, because it was extremely difficult for a heaven-raised demon to give birth, and the process of having a child was usually complicated and ever-changing. It was impossible to bring the child to their side in time to raise them. In order to not let their precious offspring wander outside, the devil race refined a devil core blood jade. Inject the aura of the parents and the child into the blood jade, and leave it by the child's side. One day, when the child body nurtured a demon core, the demon core blood jade would be activated, making it easier for the demon clan to find and reunite with them. But the polar domain and the demon race were irreconcilable enemies. Why would he with a demon core blood jade that the demon race used to search for their relatives? Deming Ju's brows tightly knit together, only feeling heavy with doubts. It seemed that even though Star Wolf had recounted everything that had happened in the past few years, there were still many things that he had missed out. It would be better to call Elder Chong over tomorrow and interrogate him properly. Deming Ju puts away the monster core blood jade and checks his own storage space. He discovered that there were many things that he was unfamiliar with. Low-level talismans, low-level medicinal pills, colorful jewelry, which he didn't give away. What the hell was all this? Finally, Deming Ju's gaze falls on a jade key. What is this? It looked a little like the Jade Void Key of Tingguang Ruins, but it was also different. But the Heavenly Light Ruins was within the sphere of influence of the Netherrealm. The relationship between the Polar Domain and the Netherrealm was even more tense than the demon race. As the ruler of the Polar Domain, Deming Ju naturally wouldn't go deep into danger and head towards the sphere of influence of the Netherrealm with the strength of his consciousness. As long as he entered the Heavenly Light Ruins, there was no way the Netherrealm would not know. If Wuji wanted to kill him in the Tingguang Ruins, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. So this is not the Jade Void Key. What was that? Deming Ju grips the Jade Key and uses his divine sense to probe inside. The next moment, his vision blurred. User Mo Ju, welcome to Tingguang Ruins. A mechanical voice rang in his ears. Under the hidden abyss, Mu Yin didn't expect that the little chick would actually give her the jade key of the Xioshan continent's heavenly light ruins. And in this hidden abyss, where spiritual power and immortal power couldn't be used, the heavenly light ruins could actually be entered. Just now, that familiar and stiff voice called her first host. Chapter 4050. Due to unknown reasons, this site can't be found on Sogu today. Therefore, the voice that calls her first host is Little Ruins? She calls out in a low voice. However, the air is quiet and there's no response. Mu Yin is about to call out again, but a flat voice comes to her ears. Special user Yiliang Chun, welcome back. Do you want to change your basic information? Mu Yin was stunned. Did you just call me the first host? Do you want to change your basic information? The other party obviously refuses to communicate with her. Mu Yin gently exhales and chooses change. She is now participating in the selection of the demon race's princess son-in-law as Yiliang Chun. If a female Yiliang Chun appears in Tingguang ruins, won't she be exposed immediately? Mu Yin thinks over and over again. In the end, she doesn't change her name. Instead, she changes Yiliang Chen's gender to male and adjusts Yiliang Chen's appearance to be 70 to 80% similar to her male appearance. Change Yiliang Chen's gender to male and adjust Yiliang Chen's appearance. User confirm to update information. Mu Yin confirm. Information change successful. The next moment, Mu Yin feels her vision blur and her whole body floats as if she has lost her weight. Her consciousness becomes fuzzy, as if she was thrown into a whirlpool, bobbing up and down. In a daze, she hears that familiar yet strange voice again. First host, we have waited for you for too long. About to restart, bang! Mu Yin feels her body suddenly becomes heavy from floating, and then she is heavily smashed on the cold ground. She rubs her arm that hurts from the fall and climbs up from the ground with a frown. The surrounding noise enters her ears little by little. What she sees is a familiar scene that makes her feel like it's been a lifetime. This is the Reincarnation Square. It's almost the same as Qianguang ruins in the Xioshan continent, but it's slightly different. There aren't as many people coming and going on the square as in the Xioshan continent, but everyone's cultivation is very high, basically above the peak of Hollow Immortal. And the tower in the middle of the square is towering into the clouds, with a flickering flame pattern in the middle. Mu Yin recognizes that it's the symbol of the Nether Realm. She once heard Han Yi say that whether it's the Xioshan continent or the Xioshan continent's Tingguang ruins, both are under the control of the Netherworld region. It didn't matter if ordinary polar domain immortals entered. However, these upper echelons of the polar domain's royal family rarely entered the Skylight ruins. This was because there was a certain chance of being discovered by Yin Wuji and ultimately being killed within. Di Mingju absolutely cannot enter Tingguang ruins. Otherwise, it would be tantamount to seeking his own death. Mu Yin coldly looked at the flame mark, his hands tightly clenched into fists. Nether region, Yin Wuji. One day, she would kill those bastards and avenge little martial uncle and Chiwen. Taking a deep breath, Mayan pushes down the raging hatred in her heart. The current her was still too weak to contend against the Nether domain. In the Tingguang ruins, she had to be extremely careful and could not expose her identity. Mu Yin withdrew her gaze and was about to take a stroll in this brand new Tingguang ruins. However, his gaze suddenly froze on one point, and a surprised expression appeared on his face. Not far from the Reincarnation Square, there stood an unbelievably beautiful little boy. Her hair was as black as ink, her eyebrows were elegant, and her ice blue eyes were clear and bright. Even if there's an obvious indifference and anger, he was so beautiful that people couldn't take their eyes off him. The moment Mu Yin saw the little boy, she almost mistook him for Xiao Bao. Her breathing almost stopped, but she quickly realized that the little boy wasn't Xiao Bao. But he was also someone she knew. Emoju, why are you here? Chapter 4051. Yes, Emoju. This little boy was the child she met by chance in Tingguang ruins of the Xioshan continent. At that time, Mu Yin and Xiao Bao were separated and she couldn't find them. In her excitement, she recognized Mo Ju as Xiao Bao and hugged him. That was how the two met. Mo Ju looked like Xiao Bao, with a pair of icy blue eyes. His personality was also similar to Deming Ju's, so Mu Yin had a good impression of him. But she didn't know when it started, and Mo Ju stopped appearing. Later, when Deming Ju assumed the name Mo Ju and became a tutor in the Starry School, Mu Yin wondered if this Mo Ju was the Mo Ju because it was too coincidental. But later, Han Yi said that Tianguang ruins belonged to the Nether Domain, dispelling her doubts. Later, many things happened, and Mu Yin gradually forgot about this child. She never thought that she would see him again in Tianguang ruins of the Xiaoxin continent. Hearing Mu Yan's voice, the boy suddenly raised his head. A pair of clear eyes that belonged to a child, with a frosty coldness and the pressure of a superior. However, when this indifferent gaze touched Mu Yan's face, it suddenly froze. His heart was pounding as if it was going to jump out. Deming Ju clutches his heart, his expression stunned. His eyes, however, fell on her face, hot and persistent, full of aggression. Mu Yan was taken aback by this gaze. She crouched down and asked doubtfully, Mo Ju? Are you Mo Ju? Deming Ju looked at her for a long time, then said in a low voice, You know me? As soon as the words came out, it was a clear and tender child's voice. Deming Ju's face stiffened, almost wanting to overturn Tianguang ruins. Why did he have the body of a child in Tianguang ruins? Mu Yin thought of something and suddenly said, Right, I changed my appearance, so it's normal that you don't know me now. I'm Liang Chun. We met in Tianguang ruins of the Xiaoxin continent. Do you remember? When I participated in Flourishing Tianguang, you invested a lot of crystals for me. I haven't had the time to thank you properly. Deming Ju kept a straight face and pursed his lips, not saying anything. I don't know anything, and I can't remember anything, but I don't want to admit it. Mine has long been accustomed to this little boy's precociousness and indifference, so she doesn't mind his attitude. She just asks, Why are you here? Ben, why can't I be here? Mayan says, So, you were originally in the Xiaoxin continent. At that time, you temporarily went to the Xiaoxian continent for something and later left without saying goodbye. It was also because you returned to the Xiaoxian continent that you couldn't contact me, right? Deming Ju. Mu Yin felt that Mo Ju seemed a lot colder and more distant this time. However, the two of them had only met by chance. Furthermore, the other party was a forgetful child. Wasn't it normal for them to drift apart after not seeing each other for a long time? Mu Yin smiled and rubbed his head. Did you come to Tianguang ruins to take care of something? I won't bother you anymore. With that, she turned around and left. Deming Ju still hasn't recovered from the shock of someone actually dares to rub in Jun's head. Seeing that Mu Yin is about to leave, a trace of panic suddenly rose in his heart. Almost subconsciously, he reached out and grabbed her hand, pulling her back. You are not allowed to leave. If Deming Ju were to do this action, it would be pulling the person in front of him into his arms. But now he's Mo Ju, a little bean sprout that isn't as tall as Mayan's waist. Chapter 4052. With a tug, Mu Yin subconsciously pulls her back. Her small body falls over and falls in her arms. She smelled the youth's fresh scent and felt his embrace. Deming Ju's entire body freezes. Be careful. Mayan looks down, only to find that little Mo Ju's face is flushed red, from the skin of her face to the tips of her ears. Why is it so hot? Did he have a fever? Logically speaking, there shouldn't be a fever in Tianguang ruins. Mo Ju. Before Mayan could finish speaking, she sees the little figure in her arms slowly disappearing. Did they withdraw from the Tianguang ruins? She furrowed her brows slightly, and there was a hint of confusion in her eyes. What happened to Mo Ju? Why is this kid acting so weird when we meet again in the Xiaoxin continent? Polar domain. Deming Ju abruptly sits up on the ice bed. He looks at the jade key in his hand, his expression fluctuating. His heart seemed to still be beating in his chest. He had never felt this way before. For 1,000 years, there had never been anyone who could make his heart beat so fast. She was so eager to have that person, to keep him by her side forever. She recalled the youth's pitch-black and bright eyes, his red and tender lips, and the scent she smelled when she fell into his arms. Deming-Ju's ears reddened slightly. He wanted this person. Madly, desperately wanted. Even if he had only seen this person once and only known him for a day. But damn it, in the Tianguang ruins, he was actually a child. Deming-Ju's handsome face is almost distorted. He stood up abruptly and was about to use his divine sense to summon Elder Chong. He wanted Elder Chong to think of a way to turn him back into a human in the Tianguang ruins. He also wanted to tell Elder Chong that he had already found the true mistress of the polar domain. That person was not Jun Mayan, but Yap Liang Chun. However, just as he was about to release his divine sense, it suddenly froze. Deming-Ju suddenly realized. Yap was a man. Therefore, he wanted to marry a man to be the future holy empress of the polar domain. If Elder Chong were to find out, would he die from anger? After bidding farewell to Mo-Ju, Mu Yin suddenly felt a little dispirited. His longing for Deming-Ju and Xiao Bao has reached its peak. But now that she's trapped in the hidden abyss, she simply can't contact Deming-Ju and has no way of knowing Xiao Bao's situation. Sighing softly, Mayan still strolls around Tianguang ruins. She discovered that there were many differences between this place and Little Tian's Tianguang ruins. The cultivation continent's Tianguang ruins was divided into upper, middle, and lower districts. This side was also divided into 3 zones, but they were called the Nether Zone, the Infernal Zone, and the Limitless Zone. The Netherworld was the largest and most prosperous area, and the people who lived there were basically immortals from the Netherworld region and its affiliated sects and families. The Limitless District was second. There were immortals from the affiliated forces of the polar domain, as well as some spirit cultivators from idol sects and tribes. As the name implied, the people here were basically all demons. In terms of the number of people, the devilish area was definitely the least. However, the demon race had always been tyrannical and unreasonable. They disdained to have anything to do with spirit cultivators. Therefore, even though the population was small, no one in Tianguang ruins dared to provoke the devilish region. The one with the lowest status was the Boundless Zone. Because the demon race excluded outsiders, only the immortals under the Netherworld could enter the Netherworld region. Therefore, the remaining people could only stay in the Limitless Zone. Another difference between the Tianguang ruins here and the cultivation continent was that there was a dueling arena here. Chapter 4053. Everyone only had 1 chance per month. As long as they paid enough transaction coins, they could issue a challenge to anyone. Because what appeared in Tianguang ruins wasn't a physical body, the battles here didn't look at cultivation level. Only consciousness, magical power, and soul strength. Not only would the soul of the loser be heavily injured, they would also have to pay a large sum of ruined crystals to the other party. Challenges could also be rejected, but they would have to pay 100 times the registration fee of ruined crystals as a registration fee. Ruined crystals are the unique currency of Tianguang ruins in the Xiaoxin continent. They could be exchanged with crystals, materials, ma bei, and so on. They could only be circulated in Tianguang ruins and couldn't be taken out. However, they could be exchanged for crystals, ma bei, or various materials at the shops in the center of the 3rd district. The users of the Limitless District usually didn't have a big background, and they didn't have many ruined crystals. Therefore, they were easily challenged and bullied. Their days in Tianguang ruins naturally weren't easy. Mu Yin strolled around and finally arrived at the demon region. Based on her experience in Bloodflame City and Red Star City, there should be very few demons who could enter Tianguang ruins with jade keys. However, the demon region's reincarnation square was very lively at this moment. Mu Yin couldn't help but go over to take a look. Put down your bet. Put down your bet. Let's bet on which high-level demon master will become the princess son-in-law in the end. I bet 10 ruin coins that the final winner will be Lord Yiksha. Lord Yaksha is only a 5th level demon master. How can he be a match for the 7th level demon master Lord Poison Dragon? I bet 50 ruin coins that the final winner will be Lord Poison Dragon. Do we demons only look at ranks in battles? If that's the case, there's no need to compete. The final winner will definitely be Lord Bailey Wayran. He's already a peak demon master. Mu Yin raised her eyebrows in surprise. Bailey Wayran, was that the youth she met today? So his magic core had already reached peak demon master level. His strength was at least equivalent to peak Xian Immortal. No wonder she couldn't see through him. The surrounding chatter continued to reach her ears. I admit that Lord Wayran is talented, and he's the child of a heaven-raised demon and a human. But he's too young, and he's too gentle and honest. How could he be a match for Yiksha and Poison Dragon, who fought their way out of the bloody battlefield? Humph. Anyway, I bet that Lord Wayran will win in the end. Only someone like him, with his appearance and family background, is barely worthy of our princess. Do you all think that the Emperor's son-in-law will come from a 4-star main city? What, there's a dark horse? Stop dreaming. It's not that easy to find a dark horse. You should know that heaven-raised demons with powerful innate attributes are all born in the demon ridges around 5 or 4-star main cities. Mayan shakes her head. This demon princess was really interesting. Wasn't it just a groom selection? Why was it like a mortal emperor choosing concubines from the people? The key point was that there were a lot of people who were unwilling to accept the emperor's concubine selection, but these demons, from top to bottom, were all rushing forward fanatically. He didn't even care if he had to share a wife with another man. Mu Yin sighs and looks up at the center of the square. There are 5 light screens here. It's these demon sect that had nothing better to do and wanted to join the fun. For this groom selection, they had opened 5 betting spots. Chapter 4054. The first 4 pieces were for the winners of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4-star main cities. The last piece was for the final candidate for the Emperor's son-in-law. It was just that the competition for the 1-star main city was over, so the last light curtain was gray at this time. There was a long list of names on the light curtain, and there were more than 200 of them. These are the final winners of the 1-star main city, and they were able to enter the 2-star main city. Mu Yin looked all the way down and finally found her alias at the end, Yi Liangchen. As for the light curtain of the 2-star main city, there was not even a shadow of her name. Mu Yin smiled and was about to leave. Several people in front of the light curtain of the 2-star main city sighed. Who do you think will be the final winner of the 2-star main city? Oh, it's just a 2-star main city. So what if they win? Won't they only be cannon fodder when they go to the 3-star main city? I don't know who the final winner of the 2-star main city will be, but I guarantee that the most miserable one in this competition is definitely Red Star City. Mu Yin stopped and couldn't help but look over in surprise. Others were also puzzled. Red Star City? Is it the Red Star City on the edge, near the 1-star main city area? What's wrong with it? Oh, you still don't know who presides over the Red Star City competition this time, right? Who the hell is it? Don't keep us guessing. Say it quickly. The person who was asked was triumphant and mysterious. You certainly didn't think of it, and you definitely don't want to face that evil star. He is the 3rd captain of the Demon Blood Guard in the Demon Imperial City. Yu. There's a sound of cold air being sucked in by the crowd. It's actually that female devil. It's over. This time, the people of Red Star City will definitely die miserably. How can they be so unlucky that it's actually the turn of this evil star to preside over the competition? If it were me, I would have automatically withdrawn when I knew that the competition was presided over by Yu. Not winning is better than being tortured to death by this female devil. But there were also people who were excited. The participants will naturally be miserable, but with Yu presiding over the competition, the Red Star City competition will definitely be very exciting. Perhaps blood and flesh would fly everywhere, and a few people would die. No, I can't miss such a grand scene. I will buy a transmission magic crystal now and go to Red Star City to watch the excitement. Me too. Mayan touches her nose and frowns. It couldn't be such a coincidence, right? What kind of physique did she have? Why would the troublemaker follow her on its own? Little handsome devil, there's something I must tell you. Early the next morning, Ying rushed to the inn. There was no longer the usual teasing expression on her face. Instead, there was only seriousness. If you don't want to lose your life, don't participate in the match the day after tomorrow. Mu Yan, because the host of the competition is Yu. Yu Ying's eyes widened slightly. You knew about it? How did you know? Mu Yan smiled. I went to Tingguang Ruins yesterday. Hiss, you have the Jade Void Key? Where did you get the Jade Void Key? Mu Yan looks at her with a smile, not saying anything. Yu Ying looked at her from head to toe. She only felt that the little boy in front of her, who was so beautiful that she wanted to swallow him up, had too many secrets. But no matter how many secrets she had, she couldn't hide that she was too young. Just in her early 20s? Among the demons, this age was no different from that of a fragile little doll. No matter how talented she was, no matter how many secrets she had, such a child would be vulnerable in front of those bloodthirsty and violent demons. Chapter 4055. For unknown reasons, Sogu is suddenly unable to search this site today. Please remember the domain name of this site, Book C Pavilion, and find your way home. WH what? She is Lady Yue? Isn't it said that Lady Yue kills people like flies and is bloodthirsty and cruel? Isn't it said that Lady Yue is a ruthless person that even the 4 demon generals around the Demon Lord are afraid of? How? How could she be such an innocent and lovely girl? Even Mu Yan shows an astonished expression. Isn't the difference between this cute little lowly and the bloodthirsty female devil in everyone's mouth too big? The little lowly Yue didn't seem to be aware of everyone's shock, and her smile became brighter and brighter. Today, I will preside over the marriage selection in Red Star City. However, before the competition starts, I have something to say. The girl's voice is sweet and sticky, soft and pleasant to listen to. Even the devil race liked cute little creatures. Many of the demons on the magic crystal platform gradually relaxed their vigilant and nervous expressions on their faces. There were even some people who showed greedy and excited smiles. Those who come to participate in the marriage selection test are all skilled and bold people. They dream of becoming the princess's son-in-law, and from then on rise to the sky. No matter how bad it is, they can become the leader of Red Star City and get rich rewards. From then on, they can get whatever they want. And a young and delicious girl like Yue is also their favorite. Once he was successful, he could even make her his male pet. Just as they were thinking about this, they saw the girl's eyes sweep over everyone on the magic crystal platform, and her soft voice also came into everyone's ears. I'm not targeting anyone, but I'm saying that all of you are trash. A group of trash, like you want to marry her Royal Highness? Haha, go back and take a piss and look at yourself. As soon as these words came out, the people on the magic crystal platform exploded. They are all the leaders of 1-star city or the elites of 2-star cities. They're used to being arrogant and sought after. Most of the examination ambassadors from the Demon Imperial City are polite to them. When have they ever suffered such humiliation? Immediately, their faces turned ugly and they glared at her. What are you talking about? A little girl dares to be so arrogant. Huh? Haven't you heard that one shouldn't bully a poor youth? Who among us is likely to become the princess son-in-law? You're just a leader of the Demon Blood Guards. So what? You didn't even look at their expressions and wave her hand casually. The few burly men behind him immediately stepped forward and took out a huge armchair. The petite girl lazily reclined on the armchair and said with flagging interest, "Instead of wasting time on trash like you, it's better to deal with all of you in one go." As he spoke, a dazzling blood-red light shone from the bottom of the magic crystal platform. Then, a round shield slowly enveloped the entire magic crystal platform. What's going on? What is this? Ah, it hurts. What is this? A streak of red sword light rushed toward him. Mayan dodges in a flash, revealing an astonished light. This is a sword formation? It was similar to the blood slaughter sword formation that youngest uncle had them practice. However, compared to the tens of thousands of sword chi of the blood slaughter sword formation, the sword chi in the sword formation before him was really child's play. Their numbers were too few. It was too slow. Muyin dodges very easily. However, it was obvious that the others on the magic crystal platform did not think the same as her. As time went by, more and more sword chi crisscrossed on the magic crystal platform. Screams came one after another. The strong smell of blood filled the air, making people nauseous. Chapter 4056. There were even a lot of broken limbs rolling around on the ground. As a demon, as long as the magic nucleus was not destroyed, the injuries on the body could heal quickly. But that was only if there was no fatal injury. Once the blood flow increased or the heart, brain, and other parts were severely damaged, the consumption of magic power in the magic nucleus would increase exponentially, and in the end, they could only die of exhaustion. Slowly, everyone panicked. Some people screamed and cursed. Some people cried and begged, shouting to withdraw from the competition. However, the girl in the armchair next to them was drunk, drinking wine, and eating immortal fruits. She did not even look at them. Yu, what do you want to do? The princess's marriage selection was set by the demon lord. If you kill him, there will be no leader in Red Star City. How will you explain it to the demon lord? Ewing was anxious watching from the side. Yu Yu's 5-ghost wind sword formation was famous. Even the demon lord could rarely survive a quarter of an hour in the sword formation. Not to mention these little fellows who were only low-level demon guards. Was Yi Liangchun still alive now? It couldn't have been pierced through by the sword formation, right? But the energy cover of the 5-ghost wind sword formation was blood red. It could block the line of sight. In addition, there were so many people inside. How could she see which one was Yi Liangchun? Ewing also wanted to question Yu Yu, but she did not dare. Yu Yu's ferocity and willfulness were well known in the entire demon imperial city. Fortunately, someone couldn't help but ask. The one who asked was a person with a background. Like Yuing, she came from a 1-star main city. She was very confident about the leader she had chosen. Now that the dark horse she had invested in was about to be played to death by Yu Yu, how could she be willing? Yu Yu raised the corner of her mouth, revealing a drunken smile. What are you afraid of? If he can't even survive my 5-ghost wind sword formation, what qualification does he have to marry the princess? Even if this kind of trash dies in the competition, isn't it what it should be? Otherwise, they will think that it is so easy to marry the princess. You, don't go too far. Yu, others are afraid of you, but I am not. Immediately remove the 5-ghost chilly wind sword formation, or else don't blame me for not being a guest. Before the man could finish speaking, he immediately let out a series of miserable howls, like a pig being slaughtered. His body went limp as he knelt down. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. Her wrist was being held tightly by a slender little hand. A ball of reddish-black devil chi curled around her wrist, drilling into her heart and her devil core bit by bit. His meridians and flesh felt like they were about to be torn apart. Yu Yu smiled and said, "What did you just say?" "I'm sorry, I didn't hear you clearly." The man's face was pale, and his forehead was covered in sweat. He could only speak weakly. I won't dare to do it again. Lord Yue, spare me, spare me. Yu stretched out her small hand and patted her face. She said in a soft voice, "You look so pitiful. Your magic core and meridians have been crushed. It must be very painful, right? My heart aches just by looking at him. Unfortunately, who asked you to provoke me? I won't let those who offend me off so easily." As soon as the voice fell, a cloud of blood suddenly sprang up from the man's body. Ewing only heard a heart-wrenching scream, and then saw a charred head rolling in front of her. The noisy Crimson Star Square was completely silent. Except for the few guards of Yu Yu, everyone looked at her in horror. Chapter 4057. She killed a fiend lord with status and background just because of a disagreement. Yu Yu is indeed worthy of being the legendary Great Devil. Ewing couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Her heart was thumping nonstop. The cold sweat on her back had already soaked her clothes. Fortunately, she didn't resist. Otherwise, she would have ended up like this burned head. Little handsome demon, I want to save you too, but there's nothing I can do. You better pray for your own good fortune. Just as she was thinking about that, a white sword beam suddenly shone from the demonic crystal platform. The sword beam was like a star, like the scorching sun, almost covering the blood-red color of the 5 ghost wind sword formation. Ewing was still thinking about what kind of light was that. Was there such a setting in the 5 ghost wind sword formation? Yu suddenly sat up from the armchair. A look of surprise and excitement appeared on his face, which had always been languid and casual. Everyone in the square was alarmed by the commotion. They whispered to each other, looking puzzled. The dazzling white light gradually dissipated. Even with the blood-colored sword formation, everyone could see the scene on the demonic crystal platform clearly. The demonic crystal platform that was crowded with hundreds of people was now empty, with a ground full of corpses. Stepping on the corpses on the ground was a handsome young man in a snow-white robe with picturesque features. In his hand was a sparkling and translucent sword. As the blood-colored swords of the 5 ghost wind sword formation shot over, the young man took a slight step. His body seemed to have turned into a phantom, shuttling through the swords. He passed through thousands of leaves, but not a single one touched him. However, the young man in front of her was walking through thousands of swords as if he was strolling in his own backyard. Everyone looked at this scene with their mouths agape. Some of them couldn't help but rub their eyes. "Ah!" Ewing exclaimed and hurriedly covered her mouth. Oh my God, what did she see? It was Yi Liangchen, the little handsome demon that she thought was so weak that he might have died on the demonic crystal platform. How'd he do it? On the Crimson Star Square, Night Spirit was also shocked when she saw this scene. Yi Liangchen was so powerful. She knew that Yi Liangchen could do whatever he wanted in the one-star Blood Flame City. But she didn't expect that he would be so powerful in Red Star City. Yap Liangchen. Long live Yap Liangchen. Yi Liangchen, you are invincible. It was a habit he had developed in Blood Flame City. Night Spirit suddenly shouted at the top of his lungs. Yi Liangchen. Yi Liangchen. The onlookers did not know who Yap Liangchen was. However, they knew that Yi Liangchen was talking about the young man standing alone on the magic crystal platform. It did not hinder their admiration and worship towards the strong. A moment later, someone shouted along with Night Spirit, Yi Liangchen, Yap Liangchen. Then, more and more people joined in. The voices rose and fell one after another. The crowd was excited. Interesting, very interesting. Yu stood up excitedly and walked back and forth on the armchair. The light in her eyes was shining. I didn't expect that there would be such interesting prey in the small Red Star City. But with just this bit of ability, it's still not enough to marry her Royal Highness. I'm going to test you again. As she spoke, she waved her hand gently in the air. A complicated hand seal was formed. Then the number of blood-colored swords in the 5 ghost wind sword formation suddenly increased. Chapter 4058. Originally, there were only hundreds of swords crossing each other at the same time, but now there are thousands of them. In the blink of an eye, the entire magic crystal platform was densely packed, as if it had been enveloped by a huge sword net. This time, no matter how fast the white-clothed youth was or how strange the divine punishment was, he would not be able to avoid it. Ewing, Night Spirit, and everyone else in Crimson Star Square felt their hearts skip a beat. Now that the sword light had not completely covered the entire magic crystal platform, Yap Liangchen was still alive. Once the entire 5 ghost chilly wind sword formation was completely formed, it would be hard for him to escape. Night Spirit clenched his fists and could not help but shout, Yi Liangchen, you can do it. Then, immediately, someone shouted along with her, Yap Liangchen, don't lose. Don't lose to that female devil. Yes, you're the hope and pride of our Red Star City. Our Red Star City must not even have a leader. Yap Liangchen, good luck. Good luck. The shouts filled the square one after another. and even the entire Red Star City was shaken. Yu listened to these shouts and looked at the young man who had been forced into a corner on the magic crystal platform. The corner of her mouth slowly curled up, and she muttered to herself, "Do I look like a demon that everyone wants to beat up? Hee hee, since you call me a demoness, then don't blame me for being ruthless." Ewing wanted to say something, but hesitated. Her face was full of worry. Yu gave her a sidelong glance. "Why, you know this little guy?" Ewing wiped the cold sweat off her forehead and forced a smile. "His name is Yi Liangchun, and he comes from the Blood Flame City. He is a heaven-raised devil with great potential. If I die here, then too wasteful." Ewing nodded cautiously. Yu agreed. "It's too wasteful, but I like it." Fake lowly true devil Yue grinned brightly. "Who asked her to think too highly of herself and want to marry the princess? Since you have the guts to covet the princess, don't you deserve it if you die because you don't have the ability?" Yu ignored him and looked at the youth on the magic crystal platform with great interest. As the crisscrossing blades filled the entire formation, the youth was almost forced into a desperate situation. "I like to see how you're going to survive." On the magic crystal platform, Mayan slowly lowers her head and looks at the 7 Absolutes sword in her hand. His fingers gently stroked the hilt of the sword, and his lips curled into a smile. His voice was nostalgic and sad. "This sword formation is very powerful, but it's still far from youngest uncle's blood slaughter sword formation. Don't you think so?" The 7 Absolutes sword trembled slightly and made a low, buzzing sound as if it was answering her question. Muyin couldn't help but smile. "We, the 7 brothers and sisters of the Xiaoyao sect, spend almost every day in this kind of sword formation. I can barely handle youngest uncle's blood-slaughtering sword formation. Can I break this poor sword formation? Chi-Ju, let's not hide from the blades. How about we directly destroy the 5 Ghost Chilly Wind sword formation? I've never tried to control you with pure magic. How about I try it today?" Buzz. The 7 Absolutes sword trembled violently. A wave of pure mana emanated from the mana crystal platform. This silenced all the discussions and shouts in the square. The interest on Yu Yu's face gradually turned into shock. In other words, everyone from the Devil Imperial City, including Yu Ying, was in disbelief. Chapter 4059. This demonic energy. How could it be so pure? Even Yu Yue, who is at the peak of the Demon Lord, cannot cultivate such pure demonic energy. Who is this Yi Liangchen? Just as the shocking thought flashed through her mind, she heard an earth-shattering bang coming from the magic crystal platform. The huge blast overturned hundreds of people in the center of the Crimson Star Square. It also made Yu Ying and the others who were close to the magic crystal platform step back again and again. Yu did not retreat. She stretched out her small hand, and a blood-colored shield appeared in front of her to block the blast. But the horror on her face could not be concealed at all. Her 5 Ghost Wind sword array was broken. How could this be? That Yi Liangchun, how'd he do it? Bang! The huge impact hit the shield. Yue only felt her hand go numb. The blood-colored shield dissipated into bits of demonic energy. A cold sword was placed on her neck, and the pure demonic energy seeped into her body through her skin, bringing the threat of death. Yue looked up in a daze and met the youth's incomparably handsome face and shimmering peach blossom eyes. The light pink thin lips slowly approached, and a slightly hoarse voice rang in her ears. "Is it fun to watch others struggle in the 5 Ghost Wind sword array? Do you want to go to the same place and try it yourself?" A moist and warm breath fell on her face, with the unique cool breath of a youth. The beautiful eyebrows and eyes were very close, and the thick and long eyelashes gently blinked. A pair of peach blossom eyes could captivate one's soul. Yo-Yue's little face suddenly turned red. She suddenly realized that the youth in front of her was really good-looking. Almost every inch of him was in line with her aesthetic taste, directly stabbing her heart. Her eyes blinked, and her face showed a cute expression. "Little brother, don't be angry. I was just joking with you. I know I was wrong, Little brother, can you forgive me? Mu Yin, why did she feel that she met a female version of Li Weiran? It was a big headache, okay? Taking a deep breath, Mu Yin loosened Yu Yue's collar and said coldly, "Now can you announce the result of the Crimson Star City competition?" Yue blinked her big eyes again and said cutely, "Little brother, what's so fun about marrying a princess? Why don't you marry me? I promise I will take good care of you. You don't have to do anything at home. Just enjoy yourself. You're responsible for being as beautiful as a flower, and I'm responsible for making money to support the family. Isn't this better than being the Emperor's son-in-law? Don't blame me for not reminding you that Her Royal Highness already has a husband." Mu Yin, how could this guy change his expression faster than flipping a book? Just a moment ago, he was still calling them trash, saying that they were unworthy of marrying the princess. It would be best if all of them died here. Now, it had become that being the Emperor's son-in-law wasn't that great. Mayan says with an expressionless face, "Can you announce the result of the match?" Yu Yu bit her finger with a look of unwillingness. She paced back and forth on the armchair with her bare feet. If I secretly bring him back and lock him up, he shouldn't find out, right? There are so many participants. It doesn't matter if one is missing. Ahem. A burly man behind him couldn't help but remind him, "Boss, don't blame me for not reminding you. Before the competition started, all the participants' information has been registered. What's more, everyone in the Red Star Square has seen it. Boss, it's just a small matter for you to kill a demon without eyes. But if you dare to ruin the Demon Senior's consort recruitment, I'm afraid that Lord Minwei will be the first to not let you off." Chapter 4060. Yu Yu glared at him sadly. "Don't I know this? Do I need you to remind me? All right. I won't mess around, okay? I'm just talking about it. Can't I have a good dream?" Saying that, he looked at Mu Yin reluctantly. His eyes were like a piece of fat flying away from his mouth, which made Mu Yan's mouth twitch. Yu Yu walked up to the magic crystal platform that had been mostly destroyed and said with a depressed face, "I announce that the winner of the Red Star City's marriage contest is Yi Liangshan." There was dead silence on the Red Star Square. Most people were still a loss, and they had not recovered from the magical scene they had just seen. Yi Liangshan directly destroyed the 5-ghost chilly windsword formation. Yi Liangshan put his sword on Lord Yu Yu's neck and threatened her. Yu Yu, the female devil who could walk sideways in the Demon Imperial City, was actually submissive to Yi Liangshan, and her tone was gentle. She even blushed and showed a shy expression. If the scene was not magical, what was magical? Was it because the impact of the explosion just now was so great that they were hallucinating? Until the voice of Yu Yu announcing the result of the contest came into their ears, they suddenly recovered. Holy shit, Yi Liangshan survived. He survived the Dark Moon Demon's 5 Ghosts Chilly Wind Sword formation. So, it took other 2-star main cities 10 days or half a month to decide the champion. But our Red Star City decided it in one day. With an undisputed and crushing victory, this unique result was established. On the Magic Crystal platform, those demons who were knocked unconscious by Mu Yan's sword also stood up one after another. Although they couldn't get up just now, their consciousness was still faintly clear. They knew what had just happened. They also knew that without Yi Liangshan, all of them would have died in the 5-ghost chilly windsword formation. At this time, they looked at Yi Liangshan with shock and fear, but also full of gratitude. No one knew who first knelt down on one knee and bowed to Mu Yin. Today's contest, I am convinced of my loss. I dare not forget the life-saving grace. If there is any task in the future, I will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Before his voice fell, a dark green dot of light floated out from this person's body and entered Mu Yan's body. Mu Yan has experienced this kind of scene several times in Blood and Flame City, so she is already accustomed to it. The first time she saw it, she was also shocked. Later on, Night Spirit was the one who told her. These different colored spots of light represented a wisp of the demon soul of the demon race. Entrusting the demonic soul to a powerhouse for safekeeping represented an oath to follow and pledge loyalty. If there was a battle, someone would definitely return and win. This was the demon race's unique way of worshipping the strong and hugging the thigh. It was indeed very simple and crude, very much like a demon. Because of his powerful performance in Blood Flame City, Yap Liang Chun had collected almost an entire city's worth of demon souls. Therefore, at this time, he was not surprised to receive a competitor's devil soul. This person's action was like a fuse. Immediately afterward, the demons on the magic crystal platform knelt down one by one. Even in the Crimson Star Square, more than half of the people bowed their heads and offered their demon souls. Separating a wisp of his devil soul would not cause any harm to his body. Nurturing one's devil soul in an expert's body would instead allow one's strength to rapidly increase. These people in Crimson Star City were not familiar with Mu Yan, but did not prevent them from recognizing her strength. And it was the nature of the demon race to be strong. More and more small dots of light formed by the devil's soul entered Mu Yan's body. Chapter 4061. Due to unknown reasons, Sogu is suddenly unable to find this site today. They were densely packed, like scattered starlight. Then, roars and shouts rose and fell one after another. The name Yu Liangchun almost overturned Red Star City. Yu Ying, and the others could not help but be moved by this scene. This isn't something that can be achieved with just strength. Yu said thoughtfully, with just one battle. So many demons are willing to entrust their demonic souls to him. What kind of rallying power is that? They had clearly met by chance, but she was willing to believe in him and follow him. Even though he had only revealed the tip of the iceberg, he was admired by countless people. This Yap Liangxin seemed to be born with the temperament of a leader. He also had a special charisma that made the demon race want to get close to him, just like His Majesty the Devil Lord in the past. It was a power that was 100 times more terrifying than a natural demon core or a powerful background. Such a heaven-raised demon, if he was allowed to grow up one day with a wave of his arm, wouldn't the entire devil race be turned upside down and become a chess piece in his hands? Yu was stunned by her own thoughts. Then he could not help but shake his head in self-mockery. What was she thinking? How could it be so easy for such a low-level little handsome fiend to overthrow the dynasty and seize power? Moreover, even if it was true, wasn't it still very interesting? At that time, she would become his concubine. An intoxicated smile appeared on Yu's little face. She blinked her big eyes, looking exceptionally adorable. Polar domain. In the dead of night, Yu Yanran was still pacing back and forth in the room, anxiously. It's been 3 days since Di Mingju woke up, but she hasn't even seen Di Mingju's face. Yu Yanran originally thought that with Di Mingju's amnesia, he wouldn't be able to see through her flaws and that even the heavens were helping her. But who knew that Di Mingju would also completely forget his feelings for Mayan? She didn't want to admit that she was his fiancée. As a result, Elder Chong, Xinglang, and the others' attitude toward him grew colder and colder. Her days in the Divine Wind Palace began to become difficult. No, he couldn't let this continue. She must find a way to get close to Jun Shang, evoke his feelings for Mayan, and let his feelings for her deepen. Creak. The window was pushed open, and a gust of cold wind blew in. Yu Yanran felt her vision blur, and a figure appeared in front of her. Aunt Tong, why have you come? After the fright, Yu Yanran saw who it was and asked anxiously, "Did anyone see us?" Commander Tong shot her a disdainful glance and said with a cold smile, "If I didn't come, what could you accomplish?" Back then, if I had known that you were so useless that you couldn't capture Jun Shang's heart even with the magnificent quicksand, I would never have helped you. Yu Yanran's face turned green, but she still carefully smiled and said, "Aunt Tong, you can't blame me for this. How could I have thought that the Emperor would lose his memory? He doesn't even remember that slut Jun Mayan, so how could he treat me well? Aunt Tong, what do you think we should do now?" Commander Tong pinched her chin and mocked. "You have such a face, but you don't know how to make good use of it. With just this bit of ability, you also want to become the Polar Domain's mistress? So what if Jun Shang doesn't remember? How did Jun Mayan seduce Jun Shang back then? Do you not even know how to copy it now? Yu Yanran complained. That's only if I have the chance. You don't know how snobbish those Ingmei guys are. Just because the Emperor couldn't recognize me, they ignored me. I wanted to request an audience with the Emperor, but they ignored me. I couldn't even see the Emperor's face. How could I talk about seducing him? Chapter 4062. Trash. Don't you know how to create an opportunity when you don't have one? While speaking, Commander Tong raises his hand and throws something to her. This is... Yu Yanran looks surprised. This is the Jade Void key? Aunt Tong, why did you give it to me? Commander Tong snorts lightly, a bit of pride on his face. I asked to see Jun Shang the day before yesterday and saw him put away the thing in his hand. Although I didn't see it clearly, I was very clear about the energy fluctuations because I just entered Tianguang ruins a few days ago. Jun Shang is holding the Jade Void key. Do you know what to do now? Yu Yanran's face brightens, and she says excitedly, I want to meet the Emperor in Tianguang ruins and make him fall in love with me. I've already prepared this much for you. If you still can't do it well, Before Commander Tong could finish his words, he vanished from where he stood. Yu Yanran can feel the murderous aura emanating from her, and her body can't help but tremble. But soon, her face shows a resolute and ferocious expression. She has nothing left now. She has no other way out than to grab Di Mingju's heart. Thinking of this, Yu Yanran closes her eyes, and her consciousness sinks into the Jade Void key. Commander Tong, who leaves Yu Yanran's room, doesn't notice that after her figure disappears into the darkness, a figure slowly appears from behind a pillar, a sloppy smile on his face, but a pair of cold eyes. Little Shadow was right. This Miss June is really fake. But I really didn't expect that the person working with a fake would be Commander Tong. Tianguang ruins. Di Mingju has been very anxious these 2 days. He didn't go to Elder Chong to solve the child's problem, but he still braces himself to come to Tianguang ruins just to see the youth. However, 2 days have passed. Yi Liang Chun has never appeared in Tianguang ruins again. On the reincarnation square, the delicate and pretty little boy's eyes are as cold as 10,000-year-old ice. The surrounding men and women originally wanted to go up and ask a few questions when they saw such a pretty little doll. But when they meet those cold eyes, they are scared and flinch. The extreme impatience makes Di Mingju's powerful soul pressure almost uncontrollably want to be released. The scenery on the reincarnation square, which was originally the same as the real world, began to become illusory, like ripples on water. What's going on? I feel dizzy. I want to vomit. Why can't I see what's in front of me? Beep, beep, beep. A hurried warning sound rings in Di Mingju's ears, as if it's a threat, but also a plea. Di Mingju's expression is ice cold. Taking a deep breath, he barely manages to restrain his violent pressure. The warning disappeared, and the reincarnation square returned to its original state. The people in the square looked at each other, wondering if they were hallucinating just now. With a calm face, Di Mingju is about to leave Tianguang ruins. Suddenly, a voice came into his ears. Why is the demon area so noisy today? It's been going on since last night. I keep hearing people shouting something like Yilianshan. Di Mingju stops in his tracks. You don't know? Recently, the demon lord was hiding in the abyss to find a husband for his daughter. In the hidden abyss, as long as the appearance and age match, the demon race can participate. Everyone from the 1-star main city to the 5-star main city has a share. You also know that the demon race loves to fight and kill the most. Of course, the method of selection is to fight and kill. Chapter 4063. Due to unknown reasons, Sogu is suddenly unable to find this site today. The Yi Liangchun you just mentioned, he is also one of the participants of the selection. He belongs to the 2-star Lord City, Red Star City. Originally, the 2-star main city selection would take at least half a month to end, but who knew that Red Star City would end in half a day yesterday? This Yap Liang Chun is the final winner. How How did it end in half a day? Ming Ju doesn't listen to the following words. His complexion turns blue. His hands suddenly clench into fists. Yu Yangchun was going to participate in the prince consort selection. He wanted to marry a demon princess. Dream on. Ben Jun will absolutely not allow it. On one side of the reincarnation square, a beautiful woman looks at Ming Ju as he turns around and walks in the direction of the devil's domain. She reveals an incredulous and shocked expression. This person was Yu Yanran. She followed Ming Ju to Tianguang ruins, but she couldn't find a familiar figure no matter how hard she tried. Just as she was feeling anxious, she felt a familiar and terrifying pressure. It was the arch. Yu Yanran had personally experienced Ming Ju's coercion. There was no way she could be mistaken. But where was the emperor? Why couldn't he find it? Finally, Yu Yanran's gaze landed on a handsome little boy who did not look like a mortal. Exquisite eyebrows, icy blue pupils, cold and aloof expression. Every inch of it was so familiar, yet unattainable. Could it be that this little boy is Ming Ju? Yu Yanran clutched at her chest, her heart pounding. His face was wild with joy. Ever since she entered the Tianguang ruins, she felt that everything was going wrong. Originally, he wanted to change his appearance in Tianguang ruins to Junmai's appearance. Unexpectedly, Tian Guangxi reminded her, basic attributes like appearance, gender, and so on, once set, they are bound to the soul and cannot be changed. Furthermore, Tianguang ruins only allows users to change their appearance based on their original appearance. Users are not allowed to casually change their appearance to someone else's. User Gold Branch Jade Leaf, please do not attempt to cheat. Yu Yanran was so angry that she almost crushed her teeth. What was the meaning of this damned Tianguang ruins? Accuse her of cheating? Right now, she clearly has the same appearance as Junmai, okay? With a belly full of anger, he enters the Tianguang ruins, but after searching for a long time, he still can't find any trace of Ming Ju. Yu Yanran really wanted to tear this heaven ruins of light apart. But now, her state of mind had changed completely. For some unknown reason, Ming Ju unexpectedly turned into a child in Tianguang ruins. No one knew this, only he knew. So long as she pretended to know nothing about all of this and approached the emperor without leaving a trace, she would definitely be able to make him feel her beauty and fall in love with her. Thinking of this, Yu Yanran could not help but curl her lips in disdain. She can imagine how Junmai managed to seduce Jun. It was just that he didn't know the god monarch's identity and treated him like an ordinary man. This made the god monarch curious and attracted him step by step. She didn't do it before, not because she couldn't do it, but because she didn't want to. Now, even if she doesn't have Mind's appearance, she can certainly make Jun fall head over heels for her. Just as Mu Yin entered Tianguang ruins, she was startled by the scene before her eyes. The reincarnation square in the demon area was crowded with people. Yu Yangchun shouts incessantly filled her ears. When she heard it for the first time, she thought that she had been recognized. In particular, there was a big and burly man standing next to her. He roared with a voice like a broken gong. Yu Yangchun. She almost agreed to it. Chapter 4064. When she came back to her senses, she discovered that these people were actually betting. On the light screen of the two-star main city, the three words, Yu Yangchun, were at the top of the list, and the amount of bets behind it far exceeded the sum of everyone else's bets. Mu Yin wiped her cold sweat and quietly retreated from the crowd. She tried not to attract the attention of others. In fact, she still didn't understand what the demon race was betting on. But just from the way these people were crazily shouting Yu Yangchun, she knew that if her identity was exposed, it wouldn't be easy for her to escape. Before going to the duel arena, she should first think of a way to buy a mask to conceal her appearance. In fact, Mu Yin came to Tianguang ruins this time to spend ruin crystals to put up a missing person notice in the reincarnation plaza. Her goal was obviously to find her fellow disciples of the Xiaoyao sect, as well as Ming Ju. So when she first came in, Mu Yin wanted to exchange 10,000 mabe for ruined crystals. But she found it hard to believe. In reality, the exchange rate of crystals, mabe, and ruined coins would actually change according to her level and prestige in Tianguang ruins. The higher the prestige, the lower the exchange rate, and the more cost-effective it was. The lower the prestige, the exchange rate was simply enough to make people vomit blood. And she didn't have any accumulation in Tianguang ruins of the Xiuxin continent. Now, she only had the empty titles of special user and first-generation host, but her prestige was ridiculously low. If she exchanged mabe for ruined coins now, 1,000 mabe would only be exchanged for one ruined coin. 1,000 to 1. This ratio was so low that it made people's hair stand on end. Mu Yin wouldn't exchange for it unless she was crazy. Therefore, she made up her mind to increase her reputation level first. And the fastest way to increase her prestige was the duel arena. The duel arena had two uses. One was to issue challenges to people she didn't like and suppress the opponent. The other was to fight with people randomly. She only needed to spend one ruined crystal, and if she won, she would get back double. And if she lost, she would just lose one ruined crystal. And every time she won, Tianguang ruins would calculate the pressure. As his winning streak continued to accumulate, his prestige would increase by 100-fold. At that time, she could even exchange one mabe for 10 ruined coins, and then buy the mabe back at the center of the reincarnation plaza at a price of 1 to 1. Just by changing hands, his assets would increase tenfold. After Mu Yin entered the Tianguang ruins, she reluctantly exchanged 1,000 mabe for a ruined crystal. Now, he was planning to go to the dueling arena to increase his reputation. Yap Liang Chun. Suddenly, he heard a gentle voice. Mu Yin turned around and saw who it was. She couldn't help but reveal a surprised expression. Bailey Weiran? Bailey Weiran immediately revealed a smile. His expression was gentle and sincere. He looked like a modest human gentleman, not like a demon. I never thought that I would be able to meet such an influential figure in the hidden abyss in the Tianguang ruins. Mu Yin rubbed his nose. Brother Bailey, don't joke around. Compared to your 4-star main city, a mere 2-star main city competition is nothing. Bailey Weiran shook his head and looked at him meaningfully. Brother Yi, you are too modest. Now, everyone in the hidden abyss knows that you have broken Lady Yoyue's 5-ghost chilly wind sword formation and made the arrogant and willful Yue admire you. When I said that we were opponents before, it wasn't completely sincere. But now that I'm saying this, it's 100% from my heart. Brother Yi, in the future, you should be a formidable opponent of mine. Chapter 4065. Mu Yan's mouth twitched as she thought to herself, there's no need for that. I'm a woman and I can't marry the princess. I only participated in the competition to leave the hidden abyss and meet the princess in the demon imperial city. As for the princess's husband, you can choose whoever you want to be. She didn't show it on her face and only smiled. Thank you for thinking so highly of me, Brother Bailey. Why did Brother Yi come to the Tianguang ruins? Mu Yin nodded and was about to speak. Suddenly, a scream came from behind. Isn't that Yi Liang Chun? What? Yi Liang Chun? Where? Damn, it's really Yi Liang Chun. Ah, Yap Liang Chun, I watch your battle. You are so powerful. Please let me follow you. Damn, Bailey Weiran. Isn't that Lord Bailey Weiran? Why is he with Yi Liang Chun? Mu Yan's expression changed. Before she could react, Bailey Weiran had already grabbed her wrist and ran towards the direction of the limitless area. The two of them turned into an alley, turning left and right, and finally got rid of the people chasing after them. They couldn't use magic power in the Tianguang ruins, so they were panting from running. Bailey Weiran, who was a gentleman, even had a strand of hair falling down. He looked a bit embarrassed. The two looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. The young man's skin was as white as jade. His cheeks were slightly red because of the strenuous exercise. His dark eyes were shimmering like stars, making him look extremely beautiful. Bailey Weiran was stunned. His heart almost skipped a beat. How could there be such a good-looking young man in the world? Even the demon and human women he met couldn't be compared to him. Bailey Waran subconsciously reached out to confirm whether the person in front of him was real or not. However, at this time, a small hand reaches out from the side and grabs Mu Yan's hand, suddenly pulling her back a step. Bailey Waran's hand fell into the air, and he stiffly retracted it. The surrounding air was filled with bone-chilling coldness, making him shiver. He suddenly came back to his senses. Mu Yan turned around and saw a pair of ice-blue eyes filled with displeasure. Emoju. The incomparably beautiful little boy pursed his lips tightly and held onto her wrist with a death grip. His icy blue eyes were bottomless and seemed to be surging with uneasiness, anger, and jealousy. Wait a minute. Jealousy? What was he a child jealous of? Did he see wrongly? Mu Yan bowed. Emoju. Why did you leave without saying goodbye last time? Did something happen in reality? Do you need my help? Di Mingju thought in his heart. What do I need help with? Just when he was about to shake his head and refuse, he saw Bailey Waran from the corner of his eye. His heart skipped a beat, and he immediately changed his mind. Yes. He nodded heavily to increase his persuasiveness. Come with me. Mu Yan looks at his dignified expression, and she can't help but worry in her heart. From the moment he first met Emoju, he had been a proud and independent child. Now that he had opened his mouth to ask for help, he must have encountered something very serious. Her expression immediately turned serious as she said, All right, wait for me for a moment. Brother Bailey, I have something to do today, so I'll take my leave first. Bailey Waran was reluctant to part with her, but the two of them were strangers who met by chance. He could only nod and smile. How about we establish contact in Tianguang ruins? Meeting each other is fate. If Brother Yi needs my help, don't hesitate to ask me. Chapter 4066. Due to unknown reasons, Sogu is unable to find us today. Dear readers, please remember our domain name, Book C Pavilion, and find your way home. Mu Yan's mouth twitched. She thought to herself, there's no need for that. I'm a woman, and I can't marry the princess. I only participated in the competition to leave Hidden Abyss and meet the princess in Demon Imperial City. As for the princess's husband, you can choose whoever you want to be. She thought so, but she didn't show it on her face. She just smiled and said, Brother Bailey, thank you for thinking highly of me. Brother Yi, why did you come to Tianguang ruins? Mu Yan nodded and was about to speak. Suddenly, a scream came from behind her. Isn't that Yiliang Chun? What? Yiliang Chun? Where? Damn, it's really Yiliang Chun. Ah, Yapliang Chun, I'll watch your battle. You are so powerful. Please let me follow you. Damn, Bailey Waran. Isn't that Lord Bailey Waran? Why is he with Yiliang Chun? Mu Yan's expression changed. Before she could react, Bailey Waran had already grabbed her wrist and ran towards the direction of the limitless area. The two turned into an alley. They turned left and right and finally got rid of the people chasing them. They couldn't use magic power in Tianguang ruins, so they were panting. Bailey Waran, who was a gentleman, even had a strand of hair falling down. He looked a bit embarrassed. The two looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. The young man's skin was as white as jade. His cheeks were slightly red because of the strenuous exercise. His dark eyes were sparkling like stars. He was so beautiful that it could take one's soul away. Bailey Waran was stunned. His heart almost skipped a beat. How could there be such a good-looking young man in the world? Even the demon race and human women he had met couldn't be compared to him. Bailey Waran subconsciously reached out to confirm whether the person in front of him was real or not. However, at this time, a small hand reaches out from the side and grabs Mu Yan's hand, suddenly pulling her back a step. Bailey Waran's hand fell into the air, and he stiffly withdrew it. The surrounding air was mixed with a bone-chilling coldness, causing his body to shiver, and he abruptly came back to his senses. Mu Yan turned around and saw a pair of ice-blue eyes filled with displeasure. Emoju. The incomparably beautiful little boy pursed his lips tightly and held onto her wrist with a death grip. His icy blue eyes were bottomless and seemed to be surging with uneasiness, anger, a jealousy. Wait a minute. Jealousy? What was he, a child, jealous of? Did he see wrongly? Mu Yin bowed. Ju, why did you leave without saying goodbye last time? Did something happen in reality? Do you need my help? Ju thought in his heart. What do I need help with? Just when he was about to shake his head and refuse, he saw Bailey Weiran from the corner of his eye. His heart skipped a beat, and he immediately changed his mind. Yes. He nodded heavily to increase his persuasiveness. Come with me. Mu Yin looks at his dignified expression, and she can't help but worry in her heart. From the moment he first met Ju, he had been a proud and independent child. Now that he had opened his mouth to ask for help, he must have encountered something very serious. Her expression immediately turned serious as she said, All right, wait for me for a moment. Brother Bailey, I have something to do today, so I'll take my leave first. Bailey Weiran was reluctant to part with her, but the two of them were strangers who met by chance. He could only nod and smile. Why don't we establish contact in Tianguang ruins? Meeting each other is fate. If brother you needs my help, don't hesitate to ask me. Chapter 4067. Mu Yin thought about it and didn't refuse. She wasn't very familiar with the Hidden Abyss demon race and the Xiaoxin continent's Tianguang ruins. In the future, he might need to consult Bailey Weiran on some matters. Ju fiercely grinds his teeth, his eyes churning with raging flames. What bullshit was a chance encounter? This person clearly had ill intentions. Do you really think Ben Jun can't see through it? Ju, can we establish contact as well? Just as he was gnashing his teeth in hatred, he heard the clear voice of a youth. As soon as Ju raises his head, he meets those gentle eyebrows and eyes. His heart suddenly jumps. He lowered his eyebrows and replied coldly, However, his consciousness very quickly triggered the Tianguang ruins and established a connection with Mayan. Bailey Weiran reluctantly looked at Mu Yin and turned around to leave. He could feel that the beautiful, otherworldly little boy seemed to dislike him very much. Moreover, the demon's instinctive perception of danger was urging him to leave this place immediately. However, at this moment, a pleasantly surprised voice came from the alley, not far away. Little Murphy, I finally found you. As he speaks, a figure pounces towards Ju. Ju doesn't even spare a glance out of the corner of his eye. He grabs Mayan's hand and takes a step back. It was only an extremely small step, but the two of them instantly moved back several meters. Mu Yin couldn't help but look at him in surprise. Only then did he turn to look at the newcomer. Because of Ju's quick dodge, the attacker fell to the ground. When she raised her head, her eyes were filled with tears. She was a beautiful woman. She looked to be in her 20s and had an enchanting figure, but her face had a cold feeling of a flower on a high mountain. But now that she had revealed an expression like a pear blossom in tears, it destroyed her cold and aloof demeanor. Her delicate and pitiful appearance reminded Mu Yin of the white lotus flower that Bai Xia often mentioned. Their gazes met in the air. Then Mu Yin sees the woman suddenly widen her eyes, revealing an incredulous expression. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to shout something. But when the time came, he forcefully swallowed his words. What was going on? Mu Yin slightly narrows her eyes. Does this person know me? Yu Yin Ran's shock could no longer be described with words. Jun Mayan. Isn't this Jun Mayan? Those three words were almost at the tip of her tongue, but she forcefully swallowed them back, because she suddenly realized that the person standing in front of her was a youth. It was a man, not a woman. Moreover, if you look carefully, you'll find that this person's appearance is quite different from Mayan's. Did they just happen to look alike? Yu Yin Ran heaved a sigh of relief and no longer cared about her. Instead, he looks at Ju. Little Mo, are you little Mo? Don't you remember me? Ju looks at her and slightly narrows his eyes. His ice blue eyes shone with a dark and cold light. The person in front of him looked familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen him before. Yu Yin Ran met his cold gaze, and her body stiffened. Cold sweat trickled down her forehead silently. She thought that she wouldn't be afraid of the Emperor, who looked like a child. He didn't expect it to be just as terrifying. Just a look from him was enough to render her speechless. Could it be that the Emperor had already recognized her as Yu Yanran? No, that's impossible. Her appearance in Tingguang ruins had been adjusted up by 90%. Although her facial features were somewhat similar to her appearance in reality, bystanders would absolutely not be able to recognize her at first glance. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.